Good evening, folks. Welcome back to another Monday night live stream. Oh my God, is the chat busy tonight? Have you lot been in like all night or something like that? What on earth's going on? Like I know, I made an early start. I've been streaming over on Rob's Tabletop World tonight with a friend of mine, Rob Oren. So he invited me over for the first in a new series about miniature gaming. So I had a lot of fun doing that. Really enjoyed it. If after tonight you want to watch something else, please go back. Please do drop Rob or Rob's Tabletop World a like and a subscribe. He does all manner of different stuff, much like I do. Board games, miniatures games, painting streams, all kinds of stuff. Please go and check him out. And thank you very much to him as well for kind of giving me a little bit of support this evening as well. So I'm going to dive into the chat because it's blooming busy. So I know there was a load more chat before this, but it refreshes and it drops a lot of the old chat off. So the one I've got is from 7:05, which was 6 in the head. Nice to see you, mate. How you doing? He said he hit the like button twice. You're looking forward to so much. You have to hit it again, mate. If you hit it twice, you turn it off. We've got Peter Nicholas in. We had Arnold come in and gave a very early donation to the channel. Thank you very much, Arnold. That was very, very kind of you. We've got Mark Wright in, one of the new Patreons as well. You'll be able to see him just up here. Thank you very much. So thank you for pledging and joining the Patreon, and also thank you for coming in tonight. We've got William Jones is in as well, saying hello all. We've got Al Curie. We've got Stu McCurdy in as well. What was that? Something just pinged up on my screen. Mark Coxey's just become a member. Thank you very much, Mark Coxey. So I'll see your chat all nice and coloured tonight then as well. We've got Steve Evans in as well. Good evening, Steve. He's saying not a subject he's interested in at all, so we'll just be lurking tonight. Well, thank you for coming in anyway, mate. Hopefully, I mean, tonight's chat obviously is a little bit kind of, well, it's not a little bit. There's a big announcement coming on Saturday from Warhammer 40,000, from Games Workshop about Warhammer 40,000, and at the minute we don't know for certain what it is, but there's some big rumours that are gathering kind of a lot of steam that 9th edition is coming. So it might not come. It might turn out to be absolutely nothing. They might tell us they're launching a new pot of blue paint. It could be anything. However, let's assume that it is 9th edition that's coming. So tonight is about a bit of wish listing, basically. And the idea with this chat is, if you are a 40k player, I want you to tell me what it is you're looking forward to, maybe a couple of changes that you'd like to see. What stuff would you like to stay the same? And if you don't play 40k, what are those changes that you'd like to see that might make you change your mind? Why do you not play it now? Have you played it and you no longer play it? Have you never played it? Does it just not interest you? But it might interest you if you changed a couple of things. So that's all we're doing, really. It doesn't matter whether you're a player or not. It doesn't matter whether you're a fan or not. We're just kind of doing a bit of wish listing, a little bit of rumour mongering, and we're just having a chat about 40k because there is a big announcement coming. And the rumours were that essentially Adepticon was meant to be the big announcement for this, and obviously with the whole coronavirus and the closure of GW as well over that time, it's been pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. Now they're starting to ship stuff again. It seems strange that now they are shipping things. They're ready to announce a new big announcement, basically. So we'll come on to that in a second. But yeah, even if it's not for you, it'd be good still to understand your thoughts. You know, what is it about the game that you would like to see change in this next edition, assuming that's what it is, that might change your mind. So, Peter Cooman's in. Good evening, Peter Cooman. David Delaney's in. Said he's burning his finger making pancakes. Oh dear, mate. I hope you heal up nice and quickly. William Jones is in as well. He's saying he's got a mild interest but almost zero knowledge, and he's an observer. Yeah, it's good. It's good to see what different viewpoints are, though, mate. We've got James Halloran says, Rob Oren brought me here. Thank you very much, James. Much appreciate you coming in, my friend. Krabby Vision's in as well, saying he's looking forward to a 40k chat. You're a big 40k fan, mate. It's nice to mix stuff up, isn't it? Phil Wilkinson's in. Nice to see you, Phil. Busey's in as well from Different Gear TV. Krabby says, big rumours that 9th edition will more likely be a consolidation and upgrade to 8th, with new faction models and start of a new story. My gut feeling, the thing that I'm expecting, mate, at the minute is Matt Mountain just donated as well. Thank you very much, Matt. This is woohoo 40k hype. Let's do a slow grow. Who knows, mate? We'll see what the chat goes like tonight. We might do. So my idea is, or what I think is, I think you're probably right. I think what we saw from EOS is we saw The move from AOS as it was to AOS 2.0, it was a gradual change. There wasn't a huge upheaval of the rules like when AOS launched or like when 8th edition for 40k launched. I think the fact that we get chapter approved every year now seems to kind of gradually update stuff and keep things on the straight and narrow and keep things moving with them annual updates that we never used to get in the past. And I think the speed of codexes coming through this time versus where they've been in the past has kept the game quite fresh and has kept it moving. So I think you're probably right. However, that doesn't mean we can't wish for new stuff. So, Arnold saying he might buy into 40k, but Necrons only, and enough to get a kill team game. Nice, mate. We'll come on to kill team as well tonight during this one. Mark Berracloth's in as well. Good evening, Mark. We've got Christian's in. Nice to see you in, fella. Thank you very much for corralling this lot while we got started. Should be nice and busy tonight, mate. We've got Yoakum's in as well. Good evening, Yoakum. He says, hi, folks. Let's get this going. I need something to cheer me up a little. I'll do my best, Yoakum. I'll see what I can do. Who else have we got? Loads of chat there. Claudio's in as well. Nice to see you, Claudio. I saw you were in Rob's chat as well. I didn't want to keep interrupting the flow of the conversation and keep diving into the chat, but it was good to see you in there, mate. You're saying, how do you always just fill the gap from Rob's live stream with a nice intro video for Dead Zone? Looking forward to it, mate. Aggression's in as well. It says, good evening, everyone from Teesside. Does that mean good evening, everyone from Teesside? Or good evening, everyone from Teesside? Peter Nicholas is in as well. Saying, are we sure it's 9th edition and not something big like a Titan? We're never sure with this kind of stuff, are we? However, they really are hyping this one up. So if this one, like I've just seen two things tonight online. One is basically they're starting like a countdown saying 5 days to go. And there was another one which had a bit of, let me try and remember what it said again. I think I might still have it on my phone. It said, in the darkness between the stars. So this is a little thing that is on here. Will that turn? Yeah. It won't focus because my camera's on autofocus in a minute. On sort of fixed focus, sorry. It says, in the darkness between the stars, the weak and the faithless find no deliverance. Saturday, May the 23rd, preview online. So yeah, so they're hyping this up. So if it turns out to be a pot of blue paint, there are going to be a few people that are disappointed. However, the rumours have been strong of a 9th edition. 8th edition is now over 3 years old. So I think 3 years in June, I think it is. So it's certainly coming up to 3 years old. The rumours I heard a while ago was May was going to be the release of 9th edition, or 8.5, or whatever they're going to call it, or Warhammer 40k 2020, whatever it is. So the rumours were it was going to be a May release, and that was quite a strong rumour from industry people, if you like. And obviously it was going to be announced at Adepticon, and then obviously coronavirus came. So whilst I can never be certain, there's a lot of talk about it, and it would certainly seem to be the case. Who else we got? We got Terry Bass is in as well. Says, hi, I need everyone else. Hope you've had a fantastic week. It's kind of fair to middling, mate. It's been one of them weeks, to be fair. But it's nice to hang out with you lot tonight. He says, this channel's boosted my enthusiasm to roll dice again. And Andy, I'll be forever grateful for your total commitment and dedication to helping all of us stay motivated. Thanks a million. Thank you very much, Terry. Very, very kind of you, my friend. And yeah, I do this because I love it. And you lot help me keep me energized as well. So yeah, you're as much to... what's the word I'm looking for? Not to blame. You're as much of the source of that as well, I say. Peter's patiently waiting for his Dead Zone strike team. Yes, mate. Hopefully that comes soon. We've got until the 15th of June. So how many weeks is that? I mean, on my calendar now. 1, 2, 3. You've got 4 weeks still. You still got a month to go, mate. That's not too bad. Peter saying opening the stores would be big news about now. Mark Coxey's in as well. Hello, mate. Saying that he had the best experience as a wargamer today. He's nearly 4-year-old, painted her first 3 models, and then we played a very simple game. She loved it. Now she's one of us. It's an amazing feeling, mate, when the little ones get involved, isn't it? Stocky's Man Cave says the chat's blown up tonight. Hope you're all well. It does seem a lively one tonight, mate. Let's hope it stays that way. Krabby's on the coffee. I wish I was on the coffee, mate. I'm just on the cherry and berry juice tonight, mate. I wish I had a coffee, I think. Where are we up to there? Did that just jump off the top of my screen there while I was reading that? Yes, it did. Of course it did. Wow, that did go fast. Where are we at? Terry Bass, very, very generous donation there. Because you did it before the stream starts, it doesn't come up on the screen, unfortunately. But thank you so much. That's a huge donation, and it's massively appreciated. Kieran is saying there, pull the pin on the grenade and throw it in the crowd. Wait for the bang with this one. I'm not going to be saying anything controversial. I mean, unless you don't agree with me and you think it's controversial. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. What can go wrong? VJ's in saying, morning, folks. Good morning, VJ. Daniel Engels in as well. Hello to seeing you, mate. Tim Kelly is in as well, saying, evening all, how we're doing. All the better for seeing you, mate. Glenn Griffin's in. Hello, fella. We've got Blizzard's in as well. Red Rose Wargaming. Man, I just saw this guy. I'm like Rocky Horse crap. It gets everywhere. Nice to see you, Anna. How are you doing? Simon Morton is in. Good evening, Simon. Jonathan Elgie. Nice to see you. Josh Price is in. Good. James Hanna is in. Battle Knights says, nice job on Rob's channel, mate. Thank you very much, fella. I appreciate that. And nice to see you as well. I hope you're well. Where we go? William Jones. This guy shows up everywhere. He's like Gandalf. I show precisely where I'm meant to be. That's what they say. We got DPM, Dave Paints Minis. Nice to see you, my friend. Crabby Tail Blackjack. I've got no idea what that's about. We'll see what happens. Yeah, that's what I got to the point where Coxie joined as a member. Thank you, mate. Phil's just subscribed to Tom's channel. Rob's, I think you mean, mate. Yeah. Luke Pryor's in. Nice to see you, Luke. We've got Chris Warden in as well. Phil Wilkinson saying he meant Rob's. That's right. Derek Hodge. Nice to see you, sir. Where we are. Mark Tattersall says double shift for Andy. It's going to be a long one, mate. I've been going for quite some time. Where else we are? Tim Kelly saying squats, instant buy, space dwarves, take my money. Luke wants to see the Ultimate Marines turn to chaos. I don't think that's going to happen, but you never know, do you? Matt Mountain with his donation there as well. Thank you, Matt. I feel like I'm starting to catch up now. Where we at? Terry Bass is saying 40k is too much for his 59-year-old brain intake. I'm struggling with Warcry. That's kind of where I've been in the past, but I'll come on to that and I'll chat about that in a bit, I think. James Orms in says, greetings, nice to see you, mate. Looking forward to a bit of 40k chat. Tony Howell is saying it could be a new John Blanche in his underpants mini. That would be pretty big. Only if they made it really big. It wouldn't be a mini then, would it? Tony Booth Leiden, nice to see you, mate, as well. Thanks for jumping into Rob's channel as well. John Estel's an interested observer as he paints his frogs again. Blizzard says he wants to end the rules glut. I'm not buying a ton of books again. We'll come on to that in a second. And Mark writes he'd like to see some solo rules for 40k. Only been back in the hobby for about a year. GW were not big on solo rules in general, are they? VJ saying as well, an updated hardcover rulebook 8.5 will be okay. Simon's not played since 5th edition. Always loved the lore. Might dip back in when 9th drops. Skip down a little bit. Where we at? Red Rose Wargaming got new rules. I must have missed a comment there somewhere. Sorry, Anna. Stu is saying one wish list would be a Necron Blood Angels box set, the fallen from the world of the Cyan King and the return of Sanguinius. Well, interestingly, the rumours are that it is going to be Necrons versus Space Marines of some sort. The timing of the Sanguinius model would certainly kind of build in with that. I'm not really up on the Necron lore to know whether they have kind of like a specific kind of chapter that they fight with, if you like, for want of a better, more knowledgeable term, that they have some kind of like hatred with. But it would make sense to have Space Marines in that starter box because it sells huge numbers. Excuse me, especially if they've got some nice new models in there as well, which there's still quite a bit of talk about, like Primaris bikers as well. So who knows if they might be in there. Maybe you might get, who is it? The White Scars are known for the bikes, aren't there? Who knows, we might get White Scars in there. Daniel says, Psychic Awakening is just a messy cash grab. Okay, we'll come on to that one as well. Tony said he started playing 40k Martyrs. It's free on the Xbox this month. I saw that, mate. It's on Xbox, Xbox Live, whatever it's called, isn't it? Peter saying, in all honesty, vehicles being vehicles again will be great fun. I'm not that sure about what the changes on that, mate, but it's not the first time I've heard that. Skip down a little bit and try and catch up. Joachim saying 40k skirmish game as simple as Warcry. I'll come on to Kill Team in a bit. where we are. Lee Reynolds is in as well, saying Silent King. I think that's more to do with the psychic awakening thing, and I think we'll probably see that model come, but it might sort of feed into this stuff quite nicely. Lee Burns is in as well. Nice to see you, mate. Peterson, a new faction potentially. Why it could be, who knows? We see a lot of new factions in AOS. We don't tend to see so many in 40k, do we? James says he got back into painting 40k from painting the 40k Conquest Weekly magazine. As long as the minis they gave us to paint are usable, and I'll give 9th edition a look. I'm pretty sure they won't kind of like sort of kill anything off. If you like anything that was in the Conquest magazine, I'd put money on it that they'll be usable, especially when it comes to sort of Space Marines and Chaos Marines. We've got Barry Kleiber in as well. Says Rob's chat was fun. You did exceptionally well. Thank you very much, mate. The work is getting out there. You're right, mate. The work is getting out there. That's where the hard work is. Animus Oculus is in as well. Says curious about upcoming 40k. VJ said they continually said that 8th would be the edition with campaign supplements and chapter approved being the new way rules would be released. I understand there will eventually be a 9th, but 3 years isn't that long. To be honest though, mate, you're saying 3 years isn't that long. There was a massive shift from where we were with 8th edition into 9th. That was a big jumping off point, if you like. It was a big change in the rules. And 3 years is enough time to decide all the bits of things that don't really work that well. And I think what this will be is, as people have mentioned, it's likely to more be a bit of an 8.5 type thing, but they're not going to call it 8.5. In the same way they did with AOS, where they had AOS 2.0, it was a bit of a soft upgrade, if you like. AOS kind of set not the benchmark, if you like, but it set the method, if you like, for the General's Handbook, with all of the point costs in and new missions in there and the bits of updates, a little bit of kind of tweaking the FAQ. And then chapter approved followed from 40k as well once 8th edition came in. I assume that we'll see that little bit of a tweak, so we'll see a few things that like maybe to change the meta a little bit. Maybe we might see some rule tweaks. We'll see all of the FAQ that's come over time being put back into that rule book, and we'll probably see some new missions or something like that. The 3 ways to play that we currently have, which is narrative, matched play, and what's the other one? Open play. I think we'll see that repeated. There's potential we might see kill team rules in there as well, because kill team obviously relies upon 40k models. It doesn't have kind of factions that are not available, if you like, not like Warcry does. We might see something about kill team in there as well, or we might see kill team tweaked to be more along the sort of the lines of 40k. Who knows? But where are we at? Lee is saying the thing most like from 9th edition is not to have to buy new copies of 3 codexes he's got. Okay, we'll come on to that in a second. Well hung and done is regarding 9th edition, the change to the turn system bolt action has a decent one. I don't think we'll get a change to the order system. I think that would be too much of an overhaul, but I do like it as a suggestion, and I would like to see something like that. I'd like to try it, to be fair, just to see what effect it has on the game. Dan Hughes is in. Good evening, Dan. How are you doing, mate? Jimmy G's in as well. Says greet team in Lemon while he assembles some Soviets for bolt action. Nice, mate. Zero Master, nice to see you. Rob Zunk's in as well. Rob Brown's in, listening in the background. Interesting to see what might come. Spyros is in as well. Says, I saw you on Rob's. I know I'm subscribed here. Thank you very much, mate. Thank you for coming in. We got Ben in as well. Says, g'day, old mate. I'm not ready for 9th. I want to keep playing 8th. I think that's probably a good point to dive in. So if anybody else in the chat I haven't said hello to, Mike Wyant, nice to see you, mate. Just at BlackJack Legacy will highlight your comment, but I'll get chatting now. So, as I said before, I think we're gonna see basically kind of like a soft upgrade, if you like, a soft launch of 9th edition. It will essentially be this is what I think anyway. I don't have any facts. This is what I think. I think we'll see all the FAQ that's amalgamated over the last 3 years come in and just boost that up. I think it will forward on the storyline as well. I think this will be in the same way where we had endless spells coming in when when AOS 2.0 launched. We had endless spells come in. I think potentially the Psychic Awakening thing has been building this narrative to this point where we'll see the launch of this 9th edition. And 9th edition will almost be about the pushing forward of the story as much as a big change of the rules, I think. So I think we'll see something like that. We might see something like endless spells being added into this. However, something that's always kind of concerned me, if you like, is the rules bloat. Now, I was thinking about this today, kind of prepping for tonight, and one of the things that I thought is actually rules bloat to me is a perceived thing. I don't play 40k at the minute. I perceive from what I see and what I hear, but not what I know, that the rules have become bloated. Yes, there are a lot of books. There's the Psychic Awakening books. There's the main rule book. There's FAQ. There's a lot of codexes. There's all these different things. However, let's not forget, it is still optional. If you want to play 40k at tournament level, then yes, you're going to have to learn all of these different bits and pieces. However, I'm never going to play 40k at tournament level. So why am I even worrying about all these books? Why am I worrying about Psychic Awakening? Why am I worrying about new codexes coming out for a faction I wouldn't play? Yes, you've got it. If you want to play semi-seriously, you're going to have to know what these different factions do. However, why not just treat it like any other game? Why do I worry about a 2,000 point army when I can just as easily build a 500 point army and play a 500 point game? It's something that after I've had this kind of 6 months of kind of not buying any miniature stuff and kind of reflecting on the hobby and kind of taking a step back from things, one of the things that's really cropped up with me about 40k is it's the big boy on the block. It's the biggest game in the world, I would suggest. And there are a lot of things said about it that I think are not based upon fact. I think they're based upon people's gut feeling. They are based upon people's perception of what they see of the game. And they are based upon what they hear other people saying online. Now, I think that 9th edition, let's call it 9th, even if it's just like an upgrade or whatever it is, I think 9th edition could be that jumping in point for people who are curious about 40k, but feel that the perception is that it's just a wall of books and it's kind of out of control. I think you have to treat it like any other game. So, for example, Walking Dead, I'm a big fan of Walking Dead. Do I own every single miniature for that? No, I don't. Do I play every single mission for that? No, I haven't. If I think about Warcry, do I feel the need to buy every single bit? Do I feel the need I have to buy monsters for it? Do I have to buy mercenaries to put into my team because somebody else is? At the end of the day, if they're playing 100 points, 1,000 points, and I'm playing 1,000 points, it's as matched as it's ever going to be within the rules as they are. I'm just starting to come around to. I think what happens is that online you see a lot of battle reports, you see a lot of ITC tournament stuff, you see the latest net lists, you see everybody kind of, there's a new codex out, I've got to go and buy that. I'm getting this faction is now overpowered, it's broken, this needs to happen, that needs to happen. I think there's a lot of perception that 40k is just unwieldy. However, much like a lot of games, the basics are they're not like unmanageable, if you like. I've been reading through the Code 1 stuff for Infinity at the moment. I got a review copy that got sent to me last week, so over the weekend I've been building up the miniatures. I've been reading through the quick start guide, if you like, that comes with it. And I recently read the Code 1 online rules, which are free. And my initial feeling was, actually, these are just as complicated as the Infinity rules. I think this is just kind of completely unwieldy, and it's not an easy entry point. But the more I kind of sat back and kind of sort of reflected on it, I'm worrying about the amount of stats that's in that book, of which my particular faction probably don't have. I'm worried about stuff that hasn't happened. I'm worrying about things that aren't causing me a problem because I haven't played it yet. And I tend to think that maybe 40k, maybe I've got that same kind of feeling about 40k. So, VJ's in here, never buy the campaign supplements, don't play enough for that. Yeah, and I agree, mate. I don't play a lot of campaign stuff, which is why for this kind of stuff, like, as it stands now, where 40k is, I could buy the 40k rulebook, which I don't have to because I've already got it over there. I could just play the power levels. I don't even need to worry about building up, like, you know, like sort of, well, I want to have this gun and I want to have this kind of, I could just play the power levels. I could play whatever it is, 50 power or whatever. I don't know the exact numbers. And just play to have fun. Who knew that you could just play this game to have fun? I could just paint up a small fort. I could just take it the next step from where Kill Team was. Because you know what? I found that through Kill Team. I got Kill Team and got started with it. Loved the fact that I could just paint up a few models. Loved the basic rules. And then found it was growing arms and legs and I couldn't keep up with it. But then on reflection, I realised that actually, even when I was playing it, I didn't play with all of the stratagems. When I was playing it, I didn't play with all of the specialisms. I was just rolling dice and having fun. So 40k, like any other game, can be much the same. So 9th edition, what would you like to see? What are the things that actually, even if you peel that back, what are the things that maybe if you play it now and you just play for fun, what are the bits that you miss out currently that you'd like to see come out? And this can be controversial. I mean, not everybody's going to agree on this kind of stuff. It doesn't really make a difference. But like, what's the kind of things that you would like to see changed that might interest you getting started? And if you are a 40k player, what kind of things would you, what do you really love about the game? What would sort of really hurt you, if you like, if they took something out or changed it massively? Right, let's have a quick look, dive into the chat and see some of these comments. I'm just going to dive in anyway because we've got plenty of chat tonight. There's over 100 people in quite early in the chat tonight, so we'll dive in and see where they're up to. Let's dive into here. Vijay is saying, who actually wants Sanguinius back? We already have enough OP characters. I think you have to stop worrying about them as being overpowered and think about it as a narrative thing at the end of the day. I mean, if it comes to tournament play and something is massively overpowered, it's going to get nerfed at some point, let's be fair. It might not straight away, but then how many tournaments do I play? How many 40k tournaments am I likely to play in my lifetime? Probably none. So if it's just a bit of fun, what does it really matter? And if it is overpowered, then I'll just agree with whoever I'm playing with. Look, I really want to play it. I love the model, but I'm going to tone it down a little bit, or something like that, you know. Lee's saying Silent King will be the Nagash of 40k. Yeah, quite potentially, mate. Yeah. Where will we look? Mike's saying there, hover bikes, hopefully. Yeah, there's definitely some rumours about more vehicles coming in, I think. I mean, certainly Space Marine bikers. What was the other thing I wrote? I wrote something down on my phone tonight as well. What was it? I've just wrote something. Where was it? See if I can find it now. Yeah, the Primaris vehicles and the bikes that was teased a while ago. So it wouldn't surprise me if it kind of like, if it does coincide with that. I think if you remember last time, so we go back 3 years ago is when 8th edition came out. That was when Primaris were released. That was the kind of like a big change as well at that time. So it wouldn't surprise me if this kind of comes in conjunction with some nice new kind of models and stuff. Potentially might, like somebody was talking about vehicle rules. Maybe there's a tweak to vehicle rules in this. And I was just saying, Necrons versus Space Marines sounds like Nagash versus Stormcasts from AOS 2nd edition. Yeah, I mean, I'm not up on the Necron lore. Obviously, the Silent King coming back suggests that it's kind of something's changed. There's something changing in the universe. Maybe it is very much that kind of thing. Busey's saying, yes, maybe they'll also bring a new Kill Team starter set too. I tell you what, mate, if the rules change, if what they've learned from Warcry and what they've learned from Kill Team means that there's a new rule set comes later on this year, because I think, if I remember right, Kill Team came out October time. So maybe that was planned for later in the year as well. Maybe they'll tweak the rules, have a bit of an update of that. Kill Team 2.0 maybe. It wouldn't surprise me, mate. It wouldn't surprise me at all if there's a new starter set that comes along for that. Because it's also another good way to get terrain out there like they normally do. Palmsy saying he hopes there's a new 40k themed spray stick. Maybe it's red like the painting handles, mate. Spyro says, always played old Warhammer Fantasy, would like to give 40k a go. Where do I start? I would suggest at the minute, mate, just hang fire until this announcement is on Saturday, and then let's see where to go. But the starter sets that they tend to bring out are not a bad place to kind of dip your toe in if you like those actual particular armies that are in them. Steve says they're going to blow up the universe and put everything on square bases. Who knows, mate? You never know. Busy saying the 40k tie-in Blazer badge box set. That's normally a Christmas thing, mate. I don't think it'll be coming out this time of year. Where we are. Simon Dunkley saying, hello hobbyists, lurking while painting these Rangers of Shadow Deep. I've always deemed 40k too complicated, too many abilities to track on the battlefield as kill team. Warcry is more my level. So Simon, here's a direct question to you then, mate. Have you played much 40k? And when you say there's too many things to track, what specifically do you mean? Because I guess you can track as much or as little as you want. So like, there's a lot of like the kind of like the command abilities and stuff, isn't there? And I've seen like the command cards. There's hundreds to choose through. However, surely you kind of, there are probably 2 or 3 that are like the stuff that you tend to play with certain factions, either from a thematic point of view or just because they're so good that why would you not take them? Krabby saying, lots of folks moan about the game at the minute and the way it's delivered, so this is the kind of ideal opportunity to get it right. If there isn't an app-based codex system, they've missed an opportunity. I can't ever see them having an app-based codex because I think they make good money out of selling books, mate, and I think people like the books in general. I mean, the way Code 1 for Infinity, they've got an app, basically like an army builder type thing, which seems to work really well. I'm quite impressed with what they do. Obviously, there's things like Battle Scribe and that a lot of people use, but it would surprise me if they do, because they've not really done. I mean, they did a subscription thing with the EOS one, didn't they? Where it was like 99p a month or something like that. I think if they do bring one out, it'll probably be fee based. But yeah, I'd be surprised, mate, if they go that way. But me, I'd like to be surprised. Noxie saying he's painting some Terminators tonight. Nice one, Noxie. Christian, you've got a link there. Come and join the Facebook group. Thank you very much. Peter saying Checkers is more his level. Mike saying we got Gaz back. Do the Eldar or any of the Xenos have heroes on par? I'm not sure, mate. I'm not sure. It's something I'll have to do some more digging on, I suppose. Mike saying Girly Man is a full AI ship that doesn't hide at all and does any. I want to see anything about it. Vijay says, but the Xeno factions all need more attention. I wouldn't be. I mean, at the end of the day, Marines might be a bit boring and a bit bland, if you like. However, they sell huge, and at the end of the day, GW are catering to where the audience is, and they are the poster boys. They're the main part of the story, and if they didn't sell particularly well, they wouldn't keep releasing new stuff for them. So there is a fine balance. I mean, Necrons haven't had anything new in quite some time, to be fair, but then maybe they don't sell very much. Maybe they know if they launch a new Necron model, to the way they release Space Marine stuff, it's going to kind of fall on deaf ears a little bit. So there has to be some kind of there's got to be some kind of like financial business reasons behind some of this stuff as well. Crabby Vision saying spot on. Don't know what that was about, mate. That's because I'm about 10-15 minutes behind now. That's why. 6 in the head saying don't want to paint a large army. Yeah, I'm well behind. Crabby saying, he's saying, have you read the 40k rule book? Do you know what it is, mate? I have, and I think around the time I was reading it, I bought into 8th edition, I bought the indexes, and then before I'd even painted my models and played my first game, the Space Marine Codex came out, the Death Guard Codex came out, and it was like, oh, so it's moved already kind of thing. And I think that was the whole point. I thought I had to keep up with it. And we're going back 3 years ago now, to be fair. I'm in a very different place now, like mentally, when it comes to kind of playing tabletop games. And I realise that it's not a race. I don't have to keep up. It's a hobby, and I need to make the hobby fit the bits I enjoy. And that's why I'm almost kind of reassessing this. Because I've said this many times, 40k is a hugely popular game. It can't be bad. It can't be all bad. It might not be for everybody, but it can't be all bad. And after looking at Warcry, thinking it wasn't for me, and then doing a complete 180 on it. After looking at Kings of War and thinking, nah, it's too many models to paint. I think the rules are too difficult. Getting a demo game and completely reversing my opinion on it. I think at some point I have to at least get a demo of 40k and give it a try. Even just so I have much more knowledge to be talking from a point of knowledge, really a point of actually, well, I've tried it and I loved it, or I've tried it and I hated it kind of thing. My experiences with 40k in the past has basically coloured my opinion on it, because I wasn't demoed the game as it played. I was demoed by people who just wanted to crush new players, and that turned me off the game, unfortunately. Few people saying they don't want to paint a large army. I guess you don't have to paint a large army. Like, who are you going to play? Who are you going to play against? Is the first question that you would ask yourself. So let's assume you want to play 40k. Let's assume that you love the lore, you love the models, and you want to play it. Who are you going to play against? Because if you're going to play against maybe one of your kids, if you're going to play against like one friend that you normally play games with, if you're going to sort of play in a local store against like a couple of people who play, maybe you don't need a big army. Maybe you need like 25, 30 models. Maybe you just like maybe you buy into an army that is a low model count. I think we as gamers and hobbyists need to kind of reassess the game for ourselves and not get caught up in that. Oh, well, all the YouTube battle reports are 2,000 points or 2,250 points. That must be what I need to do. And all of these battle reports have this Psychic Awakening book and this chapter approved thing and this, that, the other. And they all play points. They don't play, what were they called again? They don't play power levels. That must mean that nobody plays that. That must mean it's rubbish. Or they don't play narrative, or they don't play open play. I can't, like, open play is essentially, what models have you got? Well, I've got some as well. Let's just have a game. And surely that's what gaming should be about. It should be just about having fun. Having points levels and stuff, and having, like, expansions to expand your game are exactly that. If you don't feel comfortable with the base game yet, why would you get worried about the expansions? It's like, I might not be a great swimmer, but I'm also not entering the Olympics, so does it matter kind of thing. It's that kind of thing a little bit, really. Mike's saying give him a Necron and Elder Set and he would jump on it. Robert's saying I have the no fear. That's as far as he's gone with 40k. Have you given it a little playthrough though? To be fair, Robert, like have you tried the basic rules in there? Because I must admit I tried the starter rules from the 8th edition set. And actually, it didn't feel that difficult. I'm sure there's lots of kind of layers of things that I could get sucked into, but if I don't enjoy them bits, then maybe not worry about it a little bit. VJ is saying he genuinely wish GW would spend more time on updating minis than churning out new rules and supplements. I mean, updating the Eldar aspects would be great. I agree with you, mate. However, I think that's the same of any company. There has to be a financial reason why they should do something. Like maybe Eldar just don't sell enough to justify updating those models. Like I've had this conversation with the Mantic guys before, and obviously on a smaller scale, they have models that they're not necessarily happy about because they're old sculpts, but spending money on re-sculpting models they already sell is a risky thing to do, because people either already have those models and it's like, well, I ain't buying new ones because I've already got these and I've painted them, or they're for an army that maybe potentially doesn't sell particularly very well. If you scale that up to GW's levels, one, they're making them in the UK, so they've got UK wages to kind of think about and stuff like that. They're not getting done out in the Far East. And they have to look upon that, well, how many will we sell? If we come out with a new kind of Primaris, like sort of detachment or something like that, or a new Space Marine vehicle, they're going to sell in the bucket loads. They're going to sell a lot of them. If they come out with a lesser played army and an obscure model, if you like, for something that they already make and sell now, that's kind of like wasting money a little bit. So whilst from a pure hobbyist and a player's point of view, I completely understand what you're saying. From a business point of view, I think that's why that kind of stuff doesn't happen, to be fair. Kerry Cordell saying 9th edition needs alternating activation or a dice bag mechanic like bolt action. And Alan Ward, good evening, Alan. He says alternate activation like kill team. I wonder. That feels to me, whilst I know exactly what you mean and I don't disagree with it, I think that could almost be a step too far. I wonder if that's if it's moving too way. Like, I could be wrong on this, but doesn't Apocalypse do something similar to Kill Team? Somebody tell me in the chat. I think they might have done. Lee Burns says you're spot on, Andy. The only thing being that you have to find an opponent who are happy to play at the same level of attention to the latest rules to you. Which is fair enough, and when it comes to 40k, it's a big game, and people get into 40k because they can find opponents. But I think that basically people out there playing against kind of like friends and stuff in like garage games or kitchen table games, I think they probably outweigh like big gaming clubs or tournament gamers. And I would love to be able to understand that. Really, I'd love to, like, so all of you in the chat, tell me where you play. Tell me how often you play. Like, do you play at a local club? Do you have like some friends come round the house? Do you go to a store? Do you always play the same person? Do you always play a random person when you turn up? It would be good to get a kind of like a feel for that. I might do that for Friday's question this week in my Facebook group. If you're not a member of the Facebook group, I'd love you to come over and join. We do a Friday question every week where I ask these kind of questions, and it's good to kind of to understand things. But I do wonder, like, how when people are getting opponents, where do they find these opponents? Because it's always the thing that's levied at like Mantic Games. Oh well, I can never find anybody to play. But it's like, you only need one person to play. And if you're both getting into the game together, then you both kind of just grow at your own speed, if you like. And if you love the game, grow it to 2,000 points, grow it to all of the expansions. But I kind of struggle with that these days. I used to completely agree with you, but I'm starting to I'm starting to change my way of thinking, really. Animus is saying 40k is no longer a friendly game to play. Everybody's dead worried about every bit of the rules. So, on that point, is 40k the problem, or is the player base the problem? Because a rule system, a rule set, a book can't tell you what to do. It can't influence you. Like, do we really think that 40k is no longer a friendly game? Is there nobody out there who just plays friendly games? Because I would hate to think that was reality. I don't think everybody is like. I think we hear about the gamers that are like that, and everybody has that story about the douchebag at the local store who stomps the newbies and won't teach them how to play. Everybody hears that story, but nobody hears the story about, oh, me and my mate just play on a Friday night. We get a pizza in and we have a few beers and we roll some dice. Nobody tells that story. Is that because it doesn't happen, or is that just because it's good news and good news doesn't travel, kind of thing? James Hannison, he remembers when the Harlequins came out for the first time. That got him excited. I want my space clowns. Adam, good evening, Adam. How you doing, mate? He says, wish could create rules that don't need to be nerfed. I've got to kind of double thinking about that kind of thing. I think some of it is done intentionally to drive sales. It's a business model. It works. However, I also think that the size of their what they're called. Thank you for a new subscriber there as well. The size of their playtesting pool can never replicate what gets sent out to the world, if you like, when it goes out. Now, I agree there are examples where people will go, how on earth did you miss that? You call yourself a playtester, like you know the rules inside out. How on earth did you miss that kind of thing? And there's been examples where playtesters have said, well, we did highlight it, but Games Workshop decided not to do it. And that might be because books have already been printed or whatever it is. But do things really need nerfing? Like, unless you're playing at a very competitive level, is it really that much of a problem? It's an open question. I don't know whether I agree or disagree with that statement, but it's an open question, really. Josh is saying this is when they brought Titans in that ruined 40k. I assuming you mean the Knights and stuff, mate, do you? Krabby saying, personally, I'd like to see the story have a better arc. Psychic Awakening was foobar, really, so it was great to see some awesome narrative. The Necrons become super strong will be cool. I don't know a lot about Psychic Awakening, mate. I get the impression Psychic Awakening is almost about driving like a magic phase. Basically, it's like driving the magic into sci-fi. Like, and I do wonder when I made the sort of the relevance or the reference before to endless spells. I do wonder whether we'll see something like that coming because of the psychic awakening stuff. Has that started a storyline which was meant to build into this, if you like? Where we like Robert said last time I played it at a group, it was not a fun experience. Is that a gaming group that you play regularly, or was it people that you went to learn to play with that you'd not played before, Robert? VJ saying he plays orcs, and even though I'd love to paint a Gaz, I doubt I'd ever play him unless someone insisted on using Girlyman. The game is just a boring arms race. I think there's a fine balance, because I think you can boil it down to it is just a dice game and it is all about kind of winning. Or you can say, I've got this really awesome model that I really like and I'm going to play it and it's going to do some stupid things. It's going to blow up your tanks. It's going to wreck your team kind of thing. Let's play that storyline, if you like. So I think there's two sides to it. And if you're just playing purely competitively, just by the numbers, the models are irrelevant kind of thing. It's just about, I want to roll dice and I want my army to be better than that army, or I want them to be finely balanced. Maybe that's where 40k goes wrong, if you like. Maybe that is the problem with 40k. The fact that people are ultra competitive about a game that's maybe not designed to be ultra competitive. Maybe that's the problem. But the game isn't making bad players. I think bad players are bad players, if you like. Do you know what I mean? Peter says he hopes they bring out a small skirmish style box like the old combat patrol rules. 500 points, nothing better than a 3+ save and limited to one vehicle. I think essentially that's what Kill Team become, mate, to be fair. I think that's really what Kill Team is, if you like. And it wouldn't surprise me if they tweak Kill Team to fall in line with it, with a new kind of thing. We've got 116 people watching, folks, and we've got 52 likes. I'm sure you can give a nice big thumbs up to the video if you're enjoying it. And if you're not enjoying it, I'm sorry. Anonymous is saying overpowered units should be banned on tournaments, just like in Magic or similar. A lot of tournaments do that, don't they? They have their own comp levels and stuff like that, and they will ban stuff, I think. So maybe they do. Maybe they do, mate. Peter saying maybe we're getting 40k virtual reality. Yeah, not unless they can sell hundreds of minis for it. VJ says new starter boxes are great. Cheap minis, new story. Ignore if the factions aren't your jam. Yeah, I agree, mate. I completely agree. Like, for example, if this new starter box comes out and it's two factions I have absolutely no interest in, I potentially wouldn't even kind of bother with it. I might pick up the rules to kind of read through and see what they've done with the story and understand more. Probably from just a pure curiosity point of view. But I wouldn't buy into it if it's stuff that I don't want. Definitely not. Christian saying you can help support the channel by grabbing a t-shirt like the one modelled by Andy. Thank you very much. Oh, my camera's stuck, isn't it? Let me just give me 2 seconds and I'll get this camera restarted. I've got no idea how long it's been doing it. We're back. I've got no idea how long that's been doing that, folks. I just happened to glance up and saw that my face was frozen. Sorry. Where are we at? We should be okay now. Where are we at? Let's see where we dove back in with. Blizzard is saying that mostly plays solo, even before the COVID thing. A few stores in his area are clickish. I think you find that with any game though, mate, to be fair. I don't think that's limited to 40k, is it? We've got miniature painting. Nice to see you, mate. Tony saying, people are the problem. Even my own family are that guy, so I don't play games at all. Yeah, and I wonder if 40k gets the bad rap because there's more players. So, for example, it doesn't matter what the game is. I'm sure there are a proportion of those games have players that you wouldn't want to play. but because there are more players playing 40k, maybe we hear those stories more. Lee Burns says, for 40k, he's got a couple of mates that he plays. Friendly games, but I like to keep roughly up with the rules. Rules updates are part of the whole hobby. I do like to keep an eye on, it's part of the fun. I agree with that, mate, to be fair. And I think the fact that you're keeping up with the hobby because you're comfortable with what you already know. I think the worry is people getting started in the game assume they need to know everything at once. And that's just not the case. You need to know enough to play the game, to get started, basically. And I think one thing that maybe Games Workshop don't do very well is they don't promote the kind of the power level stuff. They don't promote the narrative play or the open player stuff. They don't promote the just play with the set of rules that you need. I don't think they even really say this is an add-on expansion that is not necessarily needed to play the base game. I don't think they do a lot of intro stuff, if you like. I think they rely upon the stores to do those intro games. I don't think that they do a lot of the kind of community stuff online. The community stuff online is aimed at more experienced gamers. Look at this new stuff that's coming, trying to sell the new stuff. Look at how powerful this new thing is. Look what's coming down the line. I think the stores are left to try and intro and to ease people into the hobby. And I think maybe that's a little bit of a missing trick. And if you look at any of the YouTube channels that are on there covering 40k stuff, they're all really experienced gamers, all aimed at experienced players who want to watch it. They want to see the tactics. And I think maybe there's a gap there, to be fair. Where else we at? Josh Price saying, yeah, Joachim saying, don't feel like game has to be extremely balanced as long as it's fun. That's kind of where I am. I never used to always feel like that. I played a lot of tournament stuff in the past, and I would feel quite bitter about something that felt like it was just wiping the floor with me. But I was a tournament gamer then. These days, I'm much more about the fun. I'm much more about, am I like in my head, there's a film playing out here, there's a story. And actually sometimes being on the back foot, being underpowered is like you set yourself some separate target. I want to defend this kind of this build until turn 3 kind of thing. You try and play out them stories in your head. It's a feast for your eyes, if you like. So I think there's many sides to a game. I just think that side isn't shown enough, if you like. Jimmy G says, I go to Warlords and no, I don't play 40k. The lads at the club who do always seem to be playing in a friendly manner. I don't think I've ever heard anyone badmouth another player there. Yeah, Jimmy, I'm aware of that, of the club as well, and I know some of the lads that obviously play 40k, and they're generally friendly lads. You know what I mean? Some of them do play tournaments, and they will have kind of powerful lists, but I don't get the impression that they're kind of like, they're cutthroat, if you like. They're not like in this to kind of to beat everyone up. Matt says, I bet there are a lot of players who play the game in a competitive way because they assume nobody wants to play in an open or narrative play. I think that's a key point, Matt. I think that is probably the case for a lot of games, except when it's quite hard to find an opponent for a lesser known game or a less popular game. I think people are willing to kind of to cut their cloth. So, for example, let's say Kings of War, for example. It never used to be that popular in my local area. So if somebody had said, oh, I wouldn't mind giving it a go, but I've only got 1,000 points, I bet people would chop their hand off to kind of to give them the game. Look, we'll play 1,000 points. I'm all right with that. You know, I just want to play the game. I think what happens is I don't think people are any more friendly necessarily with other games. I think they're willing to give a little bit because of there's less opponents, and maybe in a more popular game there are more opponents, and that maybe drives a different mentality. It's like, oh well, I don't want to play with you in your brand new army if you don't know what you're doing. I don't want to play your 50 power level or whatever it is. I want to play my 2,000 points because I've got a tournament at the weekend. Maybe because you can pick and choose your opponents. Maybe that's what drives that mentality. Christian, thank you very much. He says, enjoying the chat. Join the Patreon from $2 a month and gain access to the private Discord group. Patreon is doing really well, folks. We are up to, I think, 82 Patreons they were when I checked this morning, which is awesome. If we can get to 100 Patreons, yes, we'll have that super special giveaway of the Hero Quest set. And I think I'm nearing 8,000 subs as well. So if you're not subscribed, I would love it if you subscribe to the channel. And please do click the bell icon as well, because it just, I think there's like 6% of my subscribers or have that bell icon clicked. So yeah, it lets you know when I put a new video up. So that would be awesome. It doesn't cost you a penny either. Thank you very much. VJ saying very much play just for fun, but no one wants to feel they have lost before they even put their army on the table. OP characters that need to be nerfed pretty much ensures that feeling. Are there that many though, mate? And I'm not trying to be kind of like combative here with you. I'm honestly, I'm genuinely asking because I don't know. Are those models really that powerful? And what, like, how don't they get nerfed relatively quickly? Is that not a thing that I seem to hear a lot? I'm using this chat basically. This is a two-way thing for me. I'm giving across my opinion on what I think we can expect. I think from a new edition, and I'm also kind of like, I'm trying to get some feedback really about why people feel a certain way about it. Because as I said before, I think there's a lot of chat and kind of sometimes animosity for 40k from people that maybe don't play it. So I want to hear from the folks that either the ones that don't play it, tell me why you don't play it. Because actually, maybe you don't play it because of what you've heard too, and not what you've experienced. And if you do play it, let's put some of them myths to bed. Or tell me that, yeah, that's just how it is. That it's always overpowered. It's always unbalanced. I don't know why it's like a tournament game. I'd love to hear those kind of things weighed up, really. Claudio said, even with friends, now everyone is on the net seeing the filth that is out there on the lists. While I was playing a buddy, Warpath proper, the other two played 40k and were only debating and angry. See, that's interesting now, because surely like net lists must exist for every game. And like for me personally, like I have no idea about list building. It is not my strength. I'm building my Kings of War army at the minute. I started off with models I already had, and then I looked to see what gaps I needed to fill the different like the slots and the unlocks, and I picked the models I like the look of. That army might be absolutely garbage, but you know what it is? I'll still have fun pushing it around. And if I find that it is so unbalanced and so basically so underpowered every time I play, I might pick up the odd model and kind of paint something else and try. As I learn the game, I'll worry about that later, kind of thing. I assume 40k must be the same, unless you are a new player diving in against somebody like if the person trying to introduce you is a massively power gamer and it's all about the net list. Like I know people, like in my local area, who literally buy an army when the new filth comes out and they sell their old one and they dive in and they slap a load of paint on it and get it painted up quick. And like, right, I've got this new filth. Before they nerf it, I want to win loads of games. I don't want to play that person. That's not the way I want to play. I want to make the pew 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 noises. I want to hear the story in my head. Kelly says, find a good group of friends and play 40k. The competitive scene is too cutthroat. Is the competitive scene not cutthroat for most games, or am I oversimplifying things? Six in the Head says, you've got to find your own niche in the hobby. Everything else is irrelevant to a certain extent. Yeah, I agree, mate. But I think there are a lot of people who really like Games Workshop miniatures, but are put off of the game because of the way it is. It's seen as a bit of a barrier, or it's seen a little bit of gatekeeping. Like if you're not playing it this way, you're playing it wrong, kind of thing. And I'm trying to break down some of them barriers tonight a little bit and understand a bit more about it. Kelly says, I actually think GW is trying to make the game more friendly. They've embraced narrative and even open play. They have embraced it. They've put it in the rule book, but I never see it played. I never see it talked about. And I might be, maybe I'm just missing a lot of that. And if I am, please point me in the right direction. But when I see it online, it is primarily about the top end stuff, if you like, the powerful stuff, or the net listed tournament armies, if you like. Yeah, Busey saying you get bad players if you're playing a game of Uno. I've played some games of Risk with people I wouldn't want to play again. Peter says, your true friends have all pressed the like button. All 78 of them. Yeah, where's the rest of you? Get that like button pressed. VJ says, neckbeard, math hammer, win at all cost players are the biggest problem 40k has. Forget rules, minis, GW shooting itself in the foot, etc. Yeah, and I think, like I said before, mate, I think a lot of that has to do with it. It's a huge game, so if 1% of your player base is toxic in any game, then 1% of a big game will generate more toxic players, and I think that's the case, isn't it? Um, Arnold says, just a 40k AOS question. Am I far off to think that Necrons are the 40k version of Ossiarch Bone Reapers? Like tough death army with fun drawbacks? I don't I don't think you're I don't think you're far off, mate. I don't think you're far off when you say that. Um I think a little bit like Tomb Kings used to be kind of like Necrons were almost the sci-fi Tomb Kings. I think it's almost come full circle a little bit with that one. Um, yeah. Where are we at? Christian's saying free digital rules would be great if you want the law as well and you have to spend money. Um, on, I've got a feeling that the AOS rules were free, so potentially we might see something like that for 40k. Not like the entire rules, if you like, but enough to get you started and give it a try. Really, I think I remember that. David's saying, I think a lot of the problems with 40k seem to be with point cost and unclear rules. I wouldn't disagree with the unclear rules thing. I think sometimes rules are not always written the clearest. And that's where a lot of the FAQs come in. People exploit things because they're not written as clear as they could be. So I wouldn't disagree with that, mate. And I think that comes when you surround yourself with people who not only know the game inside out, but also are explained that rule by somebody that's written it. So they said, right, there's this new rule, blah, blah. What it means is blah, blah. Is it clear? And you go, oh, yeah, I understand exactly what you mean. It's very different from that conversation to me getting a card or a book or something and going, I don't really know what that means. I mean, look at the cover rule in Warcry, for example. I think that's a prime example of what happens when the person has the intention of what they want and they explain it to somebody and go, is that what you get from that? Yeah, I get that. I understand exactly what you said. So I think there's a bit of that. Palmsy's saying, I feel like GW do things for business reasons, not because of the hobby. Not saying I'm correct, but I think Mantic act more from the heart. GW act from the bank balance. I would disagree with you, mate. I think all companies act from the bank balance because at the end of the day, that's what pays their wages. That's what grows their business. I think some companies actively encourage their community and they appear more community focused, but that doesn't mean they do it at the expense of business decisions. I think that all miniature games companies do things for business reasons, and I think if they don't, they'll not be around for very long. Marco says, are we sure that it will be something like a new edition and not simply new models? I think that, hi Marco, by the way, I think I kind of covered this at the start of the chat. I think what essentially, mate, is that this has been hyped up to quite some level this time around. This is really what should have been announced at Adepticon, and unfortunately, the way they staggered all of those announcements, I think that was them like backpedaling and kind of buying themselves some time to see what happened with this coronavirus. It's like, oh, we've got another one next week. Like, fingers crossed, hopefully by then we'll be able to tell you. And like, oh no, nothing's got better. Right, well, we're having a week off for Easter. The week after, we've got another announcement. It's a big one, don't miss it kind of thing. Oh, well, no, we've not changed. We're not reopen again now, so we don't want to release it yet. All of a sudden, they are now reopen the stores to well, not the stores so much, but they are selling product. They are shipping product into hobby stores again now. We're seeing all of the big hobby stores getting big deliveries of stuff. And now they can start selling miniatures again. I think they are ready to go, right, we're going to announce this now. Because we know everybody's locked down. We know everybody's looking for projects. We don't want to waste any more time while people are getting sort of seeing the new shiny stuff from our competitors. Now's the time to get this out there. It gives people a chance to get them models, get them all built, get them painted, ready for when kind of lockdown gets released and people can start playing games again. So whilst it's not confirmed, mate, I'm pretty certain. I would say there's a 95% chance that's exactly what it is. Mike said he prefers to play at home, but he does have a 4x8 table. Well, there you go, mate. That helps as well, doesn't it? Krabby saying a couple of overpowered characters are hard to fit into smaller lists. Gurleyman, for example, Montarian's the same. I personally don't think they're OP, but that's how you get around them and play smaller games. Yeah, there is that, mate, as well, yeah. VJ says, GW do 40k for business, AOS for the love of gaming. I completely disagree, mate. I completely disagree. They do AOS for financial reasons as well. If they didn't, they would have just kept they would have just kept Warhammer Fantasy, wouldn't they? There's no reason to introduce AOS. If they're just doing it for the love, the fantasy, for the love of the miniatures, and because the lore and everybody loves it, like, it doesn't make any sense. They are a business who have shareholders, and if they don't see continuous profits and an increase in profits and bigger profit projections, then people stop investing. And they've proved time and time again they're on the right path. I think if we think any company does anything for the love of the business, especially big companies who employ lots of people, I think if we think any of them really do it for the love of, like, the love of the customer or stuff like that, they're few and far between, I think. Claudio saying net lists exist, but some games need more finesse or don't have that strong points. That's what I see and I'm being told by the guys. Yeah, I think maybe there is a bit more finesse. I think my impression is that there's a lot of synergies between stuff, and it's about unlocking those synergies, and I think that comes because there's a lot of options. However, if you pair that back to, I'm just going to buy the nice stuff that I like the look of, maybe it's less important. Jimmy says, okay, why don't I play it? Simple, really, I've got no interest in the game. Sons used to play it, I watch and laugh, it's just not my bag. And do you know what it is, mate? That's absolutely fine. If it's not your bag, it's not your bag. There's plenty of games I don't play because they're not my bag. It's not because I have a perception of them that there's something they're not, if you like. If it's not your thing, it's not your thing. For example, I've never played Warhammer Fantasy because it was never my thing. I used to play AOS. It got to a point where it wasn't my thing anymore. I didn't really enjoy it. And some of that was because I was playing with people who were really nice people, but were playing tournament level games all of the time. And I couldn't enjoy the games I was playing anymore. VJ saying 40k is mostly a cash grab. Honestly, I can't agree with that. I think all games are a cash grab. All games are about making money. I don't think 40k is kind of alone in this. They have an audience and a big audience, and they release stuff and people buy it. So why is that any different to any other game? Brenax says, I think it's just stylish to hit on 40k and GW. Didn't play from 3rd edition until 8th, but I drove for it to be reintroduced at my club, and I've been reasonably successful. Folk have enjoyed it. I think there's an element of that, mate. It's like how people like to bash Apple, how people like to kind of point out all the bad things that maybe Amazon do, and maybe they like to point at all the bad things that Starbucks do. I think it's in our nature as humans to try and kind of like say, yeah, they might make some good stuff, but this is all the bad stuff they do as well. Don't forget that kind of thing. It's like that whole, like, oh, I'm not bought into the Apple ethos, for example. I'm Android or I'm a Samsung user because Apple's the evil thing. And it's like Samsung's not some kind of friendly kind of charity. They're a massive corporation as well. So I think there is an element of like it's cool to bash the big boys. But I've got no problem with people criticizing the big companies if it's based upon experience and knowledge as opposed to based upon like what somebody online told me once about this thing that I've got no idea what it is, kind of thing. Daniel's saying there are a lot of balance issues if you're not playing the latest armies, but AOS has the same problem. Yeah, but again, I think that's a business model, isn't it? That's what keeps people buying new stuff. I don't think anybody gets into this these days without realizing that's a thing. Mike says, before Warcry came out, I bought 2 starters of Flesh Eater Courts. Honestly, I've been uncomfortable playing them in Warcry because I play for fun. Yeah, I know what you mean, mate. I know what you mean. I think the difference with Warcry is it's not that expensive to maybe buy in and have another faction, like 20 quid for another box kind of thing. But I do know what you mean. Like I played that event at Warhammer World, had 2 fantastic games. I won them, but they were close fought games. Got absolutely annihilated in my 3rd game. Guy was lovely, got no problems with the guy who played, but I felt like I just didn't stand a chance in that game. and it was less fun. But I was in a tournament setting, and I knew what I was getting myself into, if you like. Lizzie Bingham. Oh, I just jumped off the top of my screen there. Apologies for that, Lizzie. I'll see if I can find your comment now. If I can. Where was it? There it is. I find some smaller games have more cutthroat and competitive tournament scene, as those characters are more concentrated in the smaller scene. Six in the Head says, to be frank, who honestly plays 40k outside of a store or competitive environment? How many people genuinely play 40k just for fun? Serious question. Yeah, I think it's way bigger than you expect, mate. I think that's my point. That's what I'm trying to kind of get across, really. I think it's much more popular. Just folk kind of like play like sort of like school games and like playing it like I don't think I think the perception of 40k is that it's a very competitive, cutthroat game. But I think there's no way. Like, if you see the tournaments have like 30 people in them at a local store. They might have like 60 or 100 people at them at like a big event or something like that. There's way more people play 40k than the amount of people that play in tournaments. And that's true for any game. Companies would not be able to sustain themselves from just tournament gamers. But I think that's the conversation online is always about what's the latest thing. What somebody give me a list. I'm struggling against this army. What do I need to kind of combat? I think that's where the narrative is. Like that's where the discussion is. I think it's way more sort of relaxed than like those people don't go online and tell about their stories. The people that go online and make videos about their last game, and the people that kind of go online and tell people about how much they won, how much they got smashed, they're the tournament players. And I think this is where the imbalance is. I really want to dig into this because what I want to find is there basically this kind of like quiet majority of people that just roll dice and have a laugh. Because I think they're out there. And that's why I'm kind of asking the question now, really. Where are we at? Barry Kleiber seen his local store done a 40k slow grow league that were power level, not points. It was actually fun. That's kind of what I'm talking about. Like just simplifying the game slightly. Don't worry about like, well, I've got to have this model and then I've got to have points for this weapon and weapon profiles. The power level just kind of distills some of that down, almost as an entry point into it that you don't necessarily need to go out of if you don't want to. Marco says that's the same with some of his football friends. Ultra competitive and aggressive during friendly matches. People tend not to invite them again. And that's what I mean. I don't think it's limited to 40k. John Kellogg says, what's worse, a sore loser or a jealous winner or a zealous winner? I think they're both equally as bad as each other, mate, to be fair. Phil Johnson, good evening, Phil Johnson, says, one of the reasons you hear more about competitive play is there's more to talk about with list building and trying to solve the game. Not a lot to talk about. I think that's exactly my point, mate. I think you're backing up what I'm saying there. Like if I had a YouTube channel that focused on 40k but only talked about the nice friendly games that I have, or I've bought this new model, so I'm going to play them at the weekend and let's see what happens, kind of thing. That's not where the audience is. The audience is like, I want to see this really competitive thing, and I want to see the latest filth out there because I want to play the latest filth. And I think it's like if you see the amount of views that the big YouTube channels get, it's nowhere near the level of the amount of stuff that GW sell. There's a huge audience that isn't in that kind of 40k tournament scene, that are basically just very quietly picking up a new model, putting it on the table and rolling some dice. But I think that's the same in every game. Where are we at? William says he doesn't play 40k for several reasons. Sci-fi is distant third place to historicals and fantasy, and he's just an observer. As an observer, he doesn't like GW very much. They churn everything out all the time. However, 40k has three things I dearly love: Orcs, Dark Angels, and Gregor Eisenhorn. But again, right, so let me break it down. There's no problem. If you don't want to play 40k because sci-fi just isn't your bag, no problem at all with that. If you don't like GW because they sell lots of new things, I find that a little bit weird, really, because you don't have to buy all the new things. If they were releasing new things for your army every single week and you just felt like, I can't keep up with this. This is out of control. But they don't. You do not have to buy every single thing. Every company sells new things. The difference being GW is a massive company and have loads more people working for them, which allows them to release things faster. And every other company releases stuff all the time. If I go to the flip side, if you have a game like Dead Zone for Mantic, for example, there's been a lot of complaint from Dead Zone players that there's been nothing new for a while. So they're putting that right. They're bringing out some new stuff for Dead Zone. Think about things like Dreadball. There's complaints that there's nothing new for the game. So it's kind of swings and roundabouts. It's that balance. But I think 40k is a game where people feel a little bit overwhelmed by GW's release schedule, and they think that they have to have everything because the internet tells you there's something new coming. You better get it. It's going to be limited. You better buy it now. You won't be able to get it later. And I think that's what. I think it fills people with dread, to be fair, and stress even. Animus is saying, even if the end times broke the fan base, it was a genuine way of making true changes for Warhammer. The same should happen with 40k. I think the problem with that, mate, is, and I don't disagree with you, but I think the problem is 40k is making a lot of money. I think Fantasy wasn't making as much as it needed to. So I think the risk, whilst still big, wasn't like, well, we're breaking a really popular game. It's like, this is a roll of the dice here to try and do something with an IP that's not doing so well. 40k is hugely popular at the moment, and I don't think they're going to break the mold anytime soon. Alan's saying he's lost loads of games, but he's had a blast doing it. And that, if you enjoyed it, that's half the thing, isn't it? That's half the battle. Starty's Man Cave says, narrative is the way to go for friendly games. If one player has an overpowered army fitted in the narrative. Custer's last stand, if they're underpowered last turn X, they win. It's one of the things I like about Warcry, mate, is it's not always about who kills the most people kind of thing. Six in the head saying, what I'm saying is you don't sit down with your partner or mate from next door on a Friday night for a quick game of 40k, do you? More likely to play a board game or Walking Dead. Unless you play a 40k, mate. Like that, like there's a lot of my local group just go to each other's house on a Sunday afternoon and have a game of 40k. Because I think the more you know about it, the faster it plays. And actually, if a game takes 2 hours, a game takes 2 hours. Is there any different playing a 2-hour game of 40k rather than playing 2 1-hour games of Warcry? I honestly think it happens way more than you think, mate. Peter saying he believes Custer definitely evacuated when the Comanche Nation charged. Alan saying 7th and 8th was the biggest change since 2nd to 3rd. Yeah, it was a huge change, mate. It was a huge change. And that's why I think this one's going to be more of a, like, almost like a realignment or a tidying up of stuff as opposed to a big change. And Alan's agreeing with Palmsy there, saying, I guess you're right, I'll normally lean towards a board game. 40k games are always pre-arranged. It just depends on what you know. If you're a player who plays 40k, you'll probably want to play a game of 40k. If you're a player that likes to play board games and you want to like to change things up a little bit, maybe that's what you'll play. Just Kev, by the way, says 40k is the best when both players are clear about their expectations. I love a competitive style game as much as a narrative one, as long as it's with the right opponent. And I think that is also a case of, like you say, like that pre-arranged thing. Should we have a game that's kind of like, let's go to win this one kind of thing, or should we play a story out? As long as one person does up with like a fun, fluffy list, and the other one's just been net listing, that's when it's the mismatch of play styles, I think, is what drives that kind of thing. Where are we at? Peter Cummins says about GW acting from the bank account and not the community. When you're as big as GW, you can't just listen to everyone. There's too many of us shouting. Yeah, I think that's a fair comment, mate. A fair comment. So Palmsy's saying, what I'm saying is when Mantic bring out a game, I think they do it because they genuinely believe it's a good game. I think GW are a bit more calculated than that. I think honestly, mate, I think you're overcomplicated. I don't think GW will release a game that they think is bad. I think it might not always be their best game, but somebody has spent a lot of time writing rules for that game, or to be fair, Maybe it's just on the back of releasing some new miniatures. But then I don't think any other company are any different, to be fair. I think what will happen is they'll get a framework for a new game, and that basically they end up so far down a path that do they pull all of the manufacturing that's already happened? Like I think manufacturing starts sometimes before the rules are finished. Look at Kickstarters as a perfect example of that. How many people invest in a game that the rules are not finished? By that point, you're already off, like, down the track, if you like. You're not going to suddenly give everybody their money back and go, it's not as good as we thought it was. So I think you almost maybe being a little bit ideological about that. I don't think every company is in this to make money. At the end of the day, that's what a business does. It makes money. Some companies might accept making less than others, but I don't think anybody's really in this just like to keep their community happy, if you like. Obviously, they want to do that. That's how a business continues. But I don't always think that's their primary kind of motivation, if you like. Where are we at? A few people having a bit of a chat there. Hello, Brandon Rutter. How are you doing? Noxie says, GW are really shipping. His Catachan Strachan arrived 2 days before the email saying it was posted. People are having a bit of a chat there. Let's have a look further down. VJ says, GW understand that a decent chunk of the 40k player base is toxic and the highest selling faction is dull as dishwater. That's your opinion, to be fair, mate, isn't it? Like, I'm sure there are a lot of people. Like, I don't think Space Marines are dull. I think I actually quite like them. And if I was going to pick up an army now, Space Marines might be up there as one of my choices. Like, they might be, like, are they just dull to you because they're the poster boys? They're always at the front of the queue kind of thing. They want everybody pinned. They're always in the starter boxes. I think, again, that's a personal opinion. It's like picking another game. It's like saying Marvel Crisis Protocol. Oh, like I don't like that game because it's all those bloody cartoon character things. Like it's made for comic book fanboys kind of thing. I think it's your opinion's valid. Do you know what I mean? If you think they're dull and boring, then absolutely fine. And I'm sure GW know that they have some toxic players, but I think all games, anything that creates a fan base will have some element somewhere that maybe isn't as desirable, if you like. And I think that the bigger that fan base comes, the more chance there is of that happening. Mike saying, I would love to see a Rogue Trader 2 set, expand those two factions. Yeah, I'm surprised we didn't see more from that. Maybe it didn't sell as well as they expected. Maybe that was the plan originally, and it didn't sell as well. I seem to remember lots of that Rogue Trader set still sitting in stores when you couldn't buy Kill Team starter sets for love nor money. Arnold says, thanks, Andy. Just sealed my decision on buying into 40k via those Necrons. Well, I hope you enjoy it, mate. Vincent VT says, I'm not a fan of GW after their treatment of Warhammer Fantasy and got overfed with the lore and look and feel of the game. I prefer the more vanilla sci-fi instead of that background Moloch. Yeah, there's a reason why you don't like GW. It's not playing 40k because you don't like GW. It's still a valid opinion, but it's not because of the game itself, if you like. Alan Senior thinks GW are a lot more gamer friendly than they were. I think they've definitely kind of expanded and reached out to like things like Warhammer Community, things like Warhammer TV, things like the Duncan painting videos from past, and obviously now with the newer presenters. I think that's all them making inroads into that kind of community, to be fair. Wow, I am well behind on these chats. I'm going to catch up a little bit and pick out a few names here. Bobby Clark, nice to see you, mate. Says, we'd like to see some more in-depth rules for scenery and terrain. I love the way they look, but all tend to do is block line of sight. I guess that then becomes optional type stuff as well. I mean, I know they treat it in AOS, there's rules for terrain and stuff, and I always thought it was overly complicated. It ended up it was more things to try and remember, like, oh, if I go near that wood, it causes this issue and kind of thing. I think it's great for like narrative stuff, but I think it's a level I wouldn't play. I'd probably miss it out, if you like. Where we at? Roxanne, evening Roxanne, how are you doing? Says, genuinely can't understand how anyone can play I Go, You Go 40k if you've tried a game that used a form of alternate activation. I can't look at this game until it moves on from that. Yeah, and I get that, mate. I get that. There are a lot of games, though. I mean, Kings of War, it works exactly that way, for example. So it's not like it's not like 40k is the only one out there like that. There are benefits to it working like that, but yeah, I think I'd like to see it both ways to see which way to see what effect it has. To be fair, and I'm sure at some point they've probably tried that. VJ says, in the end, I'm playing small games of 40k with old mates for shits and giggles. Tony's win at all cost players and GW's motivations in the end are irrelevant. That's exactly it, mate. Yeah, we completely agree on that. This is kind of my point, really, and I think you kind of summed it up there because you've had some strong feelings about some of it, but you still play it and you play with the people that you enjoy playing with at a level you enjoy playing, and I think that's my point, is that I'm surprised more people can't get past that barrier, if you like. I mean, I'm one of them. I struggle to get past that, so I'm coming from that point as well. I'm not kind of pointing the finger at others. I'm in that camp now. It's a game that I look upon where I think the law's great. There's loads of background stuff. The model quality is fantastic. There's plenty of choice, but it feels too hard to get into because all I hear is there's rules bloat. There's too much to track. It's unbalanced. X, Y, Z. Like as I mentioned. Pomsy saying, not trying to be a dick, I appreciate the open honesty bit. No, I'm not taking it that way at all, mate. This is exactly what I try to do. Whenever I talk about GW stuff, and especially 40k, there's always this kind of like friction in the chat. And it's not like argumentative, if you like, but there are some really polar, extreme opinions when it comes to 40k. Like if I chat about Mantic, for example, we have quite a big portion of the community are Mantic supporters, if you like. They play a lot of Mantic games. If I chat about 40k, it seems to really drag polar opposites apart a little bit. But I want that debate. I want to understand why. I want to understand why people love 40k. I want to understand why people don't, like, almost hate 40k, if you like. I like the fact that there's that kind of discussion because there's not a lot of places that you can have this discussion. Christian sharing the affiliate link there as well for Element Games. Thank you very much, mate. Now they've got their GW deliveries back in as well. Mike G says GW is at the top of their industry for a reason. The minis are the law of the games. Most people's first mini, when you ask somebody about minis, they bring up GW. Yeah, I was exactly the same, mate. That was how I got in. Terry saying he played Warcry earlier for the second time, forgot to use the twist of roll 7 dice instead of 6, and forgot what the victory was, but I did a lot of learning. I'm glad you enjoyed it, mate. Those are exactly the kind of thing. So I didn't play with the twists for quite some time because it was one more thing to remember. So I didn't bother playing with the twists. And when it comes to the abilities, I almost kind of like limited myself as to what abilities I could use, really, because I didn't want to confuse things, really. So again, it's play what makes it fun. Don't use them twists until you get your head around the rules, like, you know, that extra thing to remember. Just forget about that card. Don't do it. Don't even worry about setting the terrain up, if you like, with the cards. You can do, obviously, or just, you know, just set it up how you want. You should definitely kind of like play the games where you get the most fun from them. Just got a new subscriber there as well. I wonder how I'm doing. I'm getting close to 8,000 subs now. Let's have a look and see how we're doing, because we might have a little sub push and see where we're at. Oh, I am 96 subscribers away now from 8,000. So if you're not subscribed, I would love you to subscribe. Please do, folks. We've got 116 people watching the chat now. 89 thumbs up. If you're not subscribed, I'd love you to subscribe. Bobby Clark says, I totally agree with you. All companies put their business hat on. I think they have to, mate. I'm not saying everybody in the business is like money focused. I think there's some fantastic creative people who are in these roles to make the best thing that they can. Thank you very much, Chubby Chestnut. What a name! Love that. I think there are some fantastic creative people who do what they do because they genuinely love it. People like sculptors, painters, rules writers, like law writers, and kind of background writers. However, the business itself, will be driven by a financial obligation to please its shareholders. And the owner of that business will, or the CEO of that business will only keep their job. And I'm sure they're in that position because they love making money. That's how they get their passion, if you like. Adam's saying you should build a Red Space Wolves army. I made a start, mate, to be fair. William said, I think the chapter differences keep Space Marines interesting. I think there was something I'd read the other day, and it was in a White Dwarf magazine, and it was essentially saying about how there is intentionally a lot of things not explained in the lore, because that not only gives room for a story to grow into, but it also gives room for us as hobbyists to go, oh, well, like they've never spoken about that such and such legion. I can't remember the numbers. Let's say the ninth legion or something. They've never spoken about that ninth legion. It disappeared. It went missing, and nobody knows anything about it. And then you as a hobbyist can go, right, well, that's it. I'm creating this ninth legion. The background is open. I can do anything I want with it. I can set up my own chapter. I can write this backstory. And they intentionally put them things into the rules to, like, a bit of mystery is intriguing. It gets people talking. As soon as you know the answer, it's like, oh well, I know what that's about then. So yeah, I think you're right. The different kind of different chapters, if you like, I think does keep it quite interesting. Claro says he loves how the Iron Hands were really niche until the new Codex dropped with really strong rules. All of a sudden, everyone's always loved them. We've got strong rules, mate. Everybody's loved them. That's exactly how it works. Brandon Rutter says, I was hoping that's what Kill Team would path move towards, weird one-shot warbands that doesn't necessarily have to grow into a full kit army. I hope the same as well, mate, to be fair, and that was why I was hugely interested in Kill Team, and it's why I keep thinking about going back to it. But then the more I think about going back to it, the more I think, actually, I'd quite enjoy playing like a 500 point army or a 50 power level, or however small a power level you can kind of go. And I think it's more about who am I going to play against, because like for example, me and Krabby in the chat there tonight, we've chatted about kind of getting some intro games together and stuff, and he's very much of the same opinion as me, is that he just wants to have a bit of fun and he wants to kind of tell a story. My brother-in-law Jason, he's very much, he loves the Games Workshop miniatures because they're easy to build, they always come with instructions, they're always fantastic quality, they're nice to paint, and we play our games or we did prior to lockdown. We play our games of Warcry in that kind of spirit of we're having fun, we're hanging out, we've got a whiskey, we're going to have a cigar afterwards, we're going to have a laugh. I've just been painting this new warband and I want to give it a run out kind of thing. That's how we kind of play our games. So, the chat's busy tonight. I'm trying to kind of get in amongst this one. James Hannah saying, what is the pity the store guys at GW earn less than a call centre? I can't imagine that they earn lots of money, mate. Do you know what I mean? I can't imagine it's a massively well-paid job. But then I guess working in retail isn't necessarily a highly paid job either. But I bet a lot of them do it because they love being in and around the hobby. And from what I understand, Games Workshop are also a company that drives... if you want to move up the business, if you want to climb the ladder, if you like, you want to be a store manager, you want to work at head office, I think they're pretty good at kind of getting people through that system. Dan Hughes, even mate, he's saying, I'm enjoying the view on all this. I'm a big believer in the concept of fan bases being like an iceberg. Most of them go unseen. I really wish, mate, I could kind of like, I would love to do a survey or do it like almost like make a documentary about like the hidden gamer, the ones that nobody ever gets to kind of see, the ones that maybe watch this stream but are a little bit frightened to comment because it's full of people that are like very anti-GW or they watch like other like battle reports, but they never comment because they think, oh, I might sound stupid because I don't really understand that. I think there's a massive audience out there like that maybe just kind of would rather fly under the radar, would rather just paint the models they love. Maybe they don't even paint. Maybe they just push grey plastic around on a board. But they in their head it's pew pew and all these explosions. Maybe they're just playing toy soldiers. Do you know what I mean? I think there's a huge portion out there like that. Pomsey's saying that everybody's entry point because they're so huge. They're great, don't get me wrong, but they're very corporate. That doesn't always correlate with fun. I think they're all corporate. Like I think honestly, I think I think the smaller companies, I think the difference is, as a smaller company, you get access to the people at the top because there's such a small portion. So when it comes to Mantic, you get access to Ronnie Renton giving his thoughts on what's coming up in the future, and he set up that company because he basically he loves miniatures and stuff. But he used to work for Games Workshop, and he worked at a senior level at Games Workshop, and he decided he could make enough money from doing something that Games Workshop weren't doing. The guys that run Warlord Games, you get to access people like John Stallard and people like Paul Sawyer because the company's not huge and they like to kind of get out and talk about their business and stuff like that. However, they're still XGW guys, and they opened up their own company selling miniatures because they thought they could do something that GW weren't doing. So they're all corporate, they're all businesses, if you like. I just think the smaller the business, the less rungs there are to speak to the guy at the top. And I think with somebody the size of GW, you don't get to see the CEO. The fact that they're standing up in front of the stock market to tell them about future projections paints them as this kind of corporate bad boy, when in reality, they're doing all the same things that the smaller companies are doing. The smaller companies are just not as big yet. There's still a financial guy works for Mantic. There's still a financial guy who works for Warlord. There's still a financial director, if you like, works for Corvus Belli. All these companies still have that structure in place. It's just kind of compressed a little bit further down. That's all I think. Krabby says, no friction. This is what a discussion looks like. Yeah, I think friction's maybe the wrong word, mate, but it was definitely... there's always more... what's the word I'm looking for? It's a bit more animated, I think. There's a bit more kind of like... a bit more opposites, if you like. But yeah, you're right. That's exactly what discussion's about. And this is my point. There's not a lot of places online where you can go and get people to have this kind of a discussion without it evolving into a, all right, like block the chat, like lock down the thread kind of thing. Peter saying the problem with I Go You Go in 40k is the characters' armies rely on buffing and auras, which can be harder to balance if you don't have a separate turn. And I think that's built into the rules a little bit. It's the same with kind of like I was saying before about Kings of War. It's designed so you can play it like on a chess clock. So I do everything on my turn. I even roll dice for you on my turn. And then when I end my turn, it's your turn, and you do everything on your turn. I think some games work really well like that. Some games really work with, especially skirmish games when there's a lot less models. They work really well with kind of I Go, You Go. You get games like Infinity. You get games like Drowned Earth, who have that almost, it's always your turn kind of like reactionary type thing as well. You know, there's horses for courses, lots of different rules for lots of different people. Pomsy saying it's the exact point. Why do you think people feel this way about GW? That's all I'm saying. I must admit, I'm not sure what that was about. Alan's saying people need to remember that Ronnie from Mantic is XGW. I work with him. And the Mantic Mandarin is cheap and cheerful. Their model quality is going really up though. I think when they first started, mate, it was about making cheaper miniatures for fantasy armies. I think since then, I think they've maybe evolved from that a little bit. I think it's more about being affordable wargaming now. Although to be fair, some of their models are still quite expensive. It's not they're not half the price of GW, for example. Brandon saying, don't listen to him, you have to use the twists. It's what the dark gods demand. It's nice to have the option though, mate, isn't it? Casey Huff says, just came over from Rob's channel. Thank you very much, Casey. Much appreciate you coming over. Thank you for checking me out. Pomsy saying, bottom line is Mantic haven't brought out a red paint Helen. Yes, handle. Right, where's this at? I'm going to the chat keeps jumping off the top of the screen. I can't keep up with it. Adam's saying, sorry, I do love a 500, 750 or 1,000 point game. They're quicker and relies more on knowing your army and dice rolls to win. Yeah, and to be fair, I've never tried that, so I'd love to give that a try, mate. Toby says, what's an entry point into Kill Team? There is a Kill Team starter box, mate. I think it's still available. I'm not entirely sure, but you can just buy the Kill Team rule book. And essentially the way the rules work for building your armies is you can only put the weapons on the models that come in the box you buy. So if you buy 10 Intercessor Marines, the only options you've got to equip them is with the weapons that come in that box. So it's not a bad way to actually start. But yeah, you have to buy the rule book, and the rule book has all of the points cost in for 90% of the factions. If you buy the Kill Team Annual, that basically also has all of the point costs in for any armies that have been like White Dwarf, kind of like exclusive, if you like. But yeah, the Kill Team rulebook is a place to start, mate. Where are we at? Alan saying that Christian couldn't agree more. Plastic sprues are expensive to develop. Yeah. John Franz, I don't have a problem with GW, to be honest. Hobby is what it is today because of them, but they have changed as they've grown. You certainly wouldn't get a Walker or a Bard mini of their CEO. You wouldn't, but I wonder how much that is. Ronnie gets to call the shots, doesn't he? And if I had my own company, I'd probably want them to make a miniature of me as well. Alan saying 30 quid for 3 Marines. Is it really 30 quid for 3 Marines? I'm pretty sure it's 30 quid for a box of 10 Marines. So I'm unless I'm kind of thinking of the wrong models. Yeah, maybe. Pomsy saying no. I mean, a lot of people bash them. There must be a reason. Could do more to ease that bashing. I don't think they need. I think it's almost a case of you know, any news is good news kind of thing. Any publicity is good, is publicity. Why? To be fair, if you're a fan of what they do, I think you'll see all of the good stuff they do. Warhammer TV, Warhammer community. They're always on Twitter. They're always on Instagram. They do their hobby hero things where they kind of like celebrate some people within the community. They do store birthday things to get people interested. They do all manner of different starter boxes. They're always releasing new stuff. They're always kind of like creating stuff for the games that they produce. If you're a fan of what they do, you will see all of that good stuff. If you're not a fan of what they do, you'll say, bloody hell, it's relentless. They're always releasing stuff. You can't keep up with it. And a number of different things. I think you could probably do that for any company. You could kind of point the finger at all the bad stuff they do if you're not a fan. And I think that's just what people do. Well, like I said before, GW is the big guys. They do more stuff that people get to kind of point at, really. Where are we at? Krabby said he watched the D&D documentary on YouTube yesterday that touched on that a few times. Most people don't know their friends and colleagues play 40k D&D. It's a strange thing. Yeah, I wonder whether this is a kind of the same thing as well, mate. Like I didn't and still haven't really told anybody that I know. Like even some of my family really don't even know that this is what I do for a job. Never mind like for a hobby kind of thing. So I think there's a lot of that. Peter saying maybe people bash GW because you only get heated if you care. I think sometimes what happens is you get really you get like fanboys, for want of a better phrase, who will see a company does no harm. They never do anything wrong. And then people try to point out the things that they do wrong because all companies do things wrong. And I think that basically then that explodes. It's like a powder keg type thing. And I think that's where this kind of stuff kind of stems from, really. And some people feel really strongly about the bad things that they've done, things like End Times and Killing Fantasy, and then we'll never forgive them for doing that. And that's their choice. I'm not saying that's wrong or right, but I think that's what drives a lot of that kind of that discussion, really. And the bigger you are, the more people they are making a noise about it. Noxie says, you hit the nail on the head, Andy. I'm happy to fly under the radar. Too many strong opinions. Happy enough to do my own thing. I think there's a... Do you know what it is, mate? If I wasn't doing this as a YouTube channel, if I wasn't doing this as my job now, I'd probably fly under the radar because I wouldn't want to attract... people like hating on me for saying them kind of things. Actually, I'm getting a bit older and a bit wiser, and I kind of care less what people think about me now. So I'm not saying anything controversial. I'm just, in fact, if anything, I'm playing like the middle path here. Really, I'm not being pro GW or anti GW. I'm just trying to see both sides of the argument and trying to understand that there must be like as Dan mentioned before, like the iceberg thing. The stuff we see online must be the tip of the iceberg. There must be a whole community of people who just play for fun, play casually, play quite relaxed. There's no way you sell that amount of miniatures to that tip of the iceberg that keeps a company making the money that they make. Daniel's saying our hobby's still very niche, so it's difficult to get new people to play outside of going to shops. I think it's getting better, mate. I think if you see how D&D's come on over the last few years, I think GW are... They're kind of at a point now where they could start to tip people over. If the TV show thing that they do is a hit, if some of the animated stuff they do is popular, I think it's possible. Like things like they do, like I think it was, who was it? It was somebody was talking about them doing the Scouts thing. They basically sponsor the Scouts hobby badge. It's little things like that that will get them kind of a bit more mainstream appeal, actually. Testudo Maximus says, complain about GW prices. Have you seen what we expect to play for GW in Australia? Yeah, I mentioned I was on Rob's Tabletop World tonight as well. Was it tonight? I was talking about that. Yeah, and it is disgraceful. I can't even comprehend how the prices they come up with them. I mean, they're not cheap in the UK. They're much more expensive in the US. It's disgusting in Australia, to be honest. The extremes that they kind of stretch, the difference between what's it called, the exchange rates and stuff. I assume there's some reason why they do it, but obviously enough people will pay it that they don't feel the need to do anything about it. Palmsy saying, okay, answer me this. What's your view on the red paint and handle? Great idea, or taking the mick out of the customer? I don't think I really get what you mean, mate, because nobody is forcing you to buy it. Nobody kind of holds a gun to your head and say, you got to buy this. Maybe it's just like, it's Christmas time, basically, isn't it? They released it at Christmas along with the kind of paint and handle thing. And it's the kind of thing people buy for stocking fillers for friends and family, basically. It's a kind, like, what are they, like a £5? It's not like they're kind of charging you like 40 quid for them or something. I don't think, and like, unless you have no other choice. So let's think about something. Let's say that 40k uses specific dice that are only used in 40k, and GW have the license on them. They won't let anybody else make them dice, and they charge you 40 quid for a set of 4 dice. That's taking the mick. That's taking the mick out of the customer. That's like saying, if you want to play our game, you need to buy these dice. And we know you need to buy these dice. So, therefore, you've got to have them. I think that would be taking the mick. Doing a red paint and handle is just a paint and handle. It doesn't offend me. Like, did I buy one? No, I didn't. But then I don't really like the paint and handles. Would I have? What if they brought out paint and handles in different colours for different kind of Space Marine chapters? If they started coming out with Ultramarine symbols on them and Dark Angel symbols on them, I'm sure people would love them. So do I think it's taking the mick? I don't think it's kind of. It's not a great idea as such. It's just somebody's come. I guess it's just red for Christmas kind of thing, wasn't it? That's all it was. Daniel's saying a passionate discussion. Yeah, we definitely have that. I'm still well behind this. I need to try and keep up. Where are we at? Luke Pryor just said something there that skipped off my screen, and I wanted to. Where are we at? People need to stop thinking that any wargaming company out there would not kill for a range like Space Marines and its consistent sales. All companies want your money. Yeah, I honestly, I think anybody. I honestly struggle to think of any company that doesn't want your money. It doesn't matter whether that's Starbucks selling coffees. They might make amazing coffees. I love Starbucks coffee, but do they want my money, and are they a little bit overpriced? Yeah, they are. Will I, if I can afford it, will I still buy them? Yes, I will. And I guess that's the same with anything. Like, I really like Nike trainers. I really love like Air Jordans. Are they expensive? Yes, they are. Do I think they're taking the mick? Maybe a little bit, but if I want them enough and I can afford it, then maybe I'll go and buy some. So I don't see GW as any different to any big sort of company, really. And I think any small company are all trying to be big. Like they'd all like love to be in that position. Pomsey saying he's using it as an example of their business practices, a stupid example of their business practices. I don't. I might be missing something, maybe, but I honestly don't really understand what you're getting at with that one, because all they're doing is creating a product. It either sells or it doesn't. Like, it's not like they've got a red painting handle that says all 40k players are knobs, like, and then trying to charge you £10 for it. They're not like abusing their customer base. They're just producing something and seeing if anybody wants to buy it, kind of thing, especially around Christmas. Peter says maybe you should get a taller screen. Taller screen. Is that because I keep looking down, mate? Is it? If I get a taller screen, it covers my camera. That's the problem. Luke says, I think GW did an awful lot over the last 10 or 15 years to piss off the fans, and those fans have held Dwarven-style grudges. However, quite a lot of them still buy stuff, even begrudgingly. I think that's the thing. Adam said it's right to do business as long as both the company and the customers are equally happy with what they get. And I think that is probably a really fair point, mate, to be fair. Nobody is forced to buy anything. And you as a customer, you vote with your wallet and you vote with your feet. You don't buy their stuff, you don't go to their shops. And people keep buying it, which is why they're a hugely successful business. VJ says he's have to say he's super impressed with the value Mantic are delivering with their mega armies. John Bingham just subscribed. Were you not already subscribed, mate? I'm offended by that. Yeah, I think Mantic have been putting great value into their stuff, to be fair. Butterfly Man as well, just subscribed. Thank you very much. I think Mantic have got some fantastic value in some of their big armies and stuff. I'm not sort of denying that, to be fair. Is their quality as good as GW? In the main, no. I think with some of their resin stuff is fantastic and is up there with some GW stuff, but then their resin stuff isn't particularly cheap either by the same stretch. But yeah, I think there's a good value coming out of that. I agree. I've bought the stuff for my Kings of War army, and it hasn't been nearly as expensive as it would have been to build like a big AOS army, for example. But yeah, I can't disagree with that. Bobby Clark's in there. It doesn't think Palmsy's been too harsh. It just, but they do push things a bit far sometimes, or make you raise an eyebrow. Selling a painting stick. I think things like the painting stick and that, they're almost in there to grab attention. They're almost in there to kind of to get people talking about it. Like if Warlord Games started selling painting sticks, we'd all be talking about it, wouldn't we? But it's expensive for Warlord Games to kind of to get all of that thing in motion and get those things made. I honestly think sometimes these things are, especially around Christmas, they're there as stocking fillers. They're there as like little things to kind of to talk about stuff. However, I've also heard about people who've bought those painting sticks and swear by them in the same way people swear by those painting handles, kind of thing. Where are we at? Daniel saying he's a filthy casual. Matthew says that's why I love about being 40 plus. I don't care what others think. Yeah, that's kind of me as well, to be fair, mate. Barry saying, to be fair, GW were much more customer focused in the last 3 or 4 years. There was a long period where they weren't. Yeah, they basically didn't do any of their social media stuff, to be honest. Busy saying this could end up being an 8-hour stream. Let's keep going. How are we doing? 96 people watching at 5 to 11. If you're all happy, I'll keep going. Don't worry about that. Matt says, I love Mantic. I love GW in general. I just love the hobby, and all companies have good and bad. That's exactly where I am. It's part of the reason, and I mentioned this in the Discord group today. It's part of the reason why my channel isn't funded by what the hell was that noise? It's part of the reason why my channel isn't funded by companies. I want to be able to have these discussions. I want to be able to say the good things and say the bad things, and not worry about saying something bad about a company when they've done something stupid, because they're paying my bills, if you like. That's why I'm community funded. That's why Patreon is hugely important to the success of this being a long-term venture. Because actually, without being able to criticise companies when they do something stupid, and without being able to praise companies without fear of being looking like you're favouring them, that's a really kind of hard line to do, really. Rob says he likes the fluff and the stories for 40k. Might jump back in just because the minis are awesome. Really do like the minis, but taking a wait and see for now. Yeah, Saturday is going to be interesting. We'll see what they come out with on Saturday, and then maybe we can have a chat about this again in the future. VJ says, by the way, thanks for reading out my final GW thoughts. I do have strong opinions, but it's a game, and games are supposed to be fun. 100%, mate. I don't think we're really disagreeing, mate. To be fair, I think we agree. We violently agree on playing those games, and I think everybody is entitled to have an opinion, whether it's strongly for or strongly against or somewhere in the middle. Really, that's exactly what I wanted to have tonight. I wanted to draw out those different discussions. Mike G said he didn't even know about Manic till last summer. Adam said he'd like a red painting handle. Tim says, told you, but I must have missed what that was about. Terry says, good night, everyone. Andy, no twists or even victory cards tomorrow. Yeah, just play for fun, mate. Victory will be the first side to slay 50% of their opponents. I think there are some of the what they're called, the victory conditions that actually have that anyway. Yeah, have fun, mate. As long as you're having fun, that's all that matters. Mark says, I'm new to 40k. How many red painting handles to a unit? Alan says, yes, Ultramarines was not a good film. I bought that DVD many years ago, mate. And yeah, you're right. It wasn't a good film. It had a good cast, like some good voice actors in there, but the animation was awful. Where are we talking about? VJ saying, speaking of D&D resurgence, Stranger Things has a lot to do with that. Can you imagine if the kids were playing 40k? I wonder if they had a lot to do with it, or if it was almost. I know they were kind of playing D&D at the start of the show, if you like, but I wonder if it was already kind of gaining popularity by that point. I can't remember. It all feels like it was a big blur now, but you could be right though. Peter saying about an Inquisitor type story. I think you're talking about the TV show. It's going to be Eisenhorn, mate, isn't it? VG Moss has just sampled Andy saying all 40k players are now stand by for the video remix. Krabby Vision says, back to the topic, I hope whatever this release is, the delivery is better. Better than what, mate? Delivery's better than what? Because actually 8th edition delivered pretty well, I think. So I'd be interested to know if you what do you mean better than what? Jonathan says, never knew there was a movie in this day and age. There's so much extrapolation from other source material. The movie was awful, mate. Yeah, it was badly timed, I think. The technology, I don't think, was really up to it. Or certainly they didn't want to spend the money for the technology to be up to it. Where's that one gone? Roxanne says, 40k didn't exist at the time Stranger Things is set. Alas, it crossed my mind as well. You genius. I would never have put two and two together for that one. Ty Babies are saying GW. Hello, by the way, mate. GW is monopose these days, which is a bit crap, even if they're great sculpts. More and more companies are going monopose now, to be fair, mate. I mean, not the likes of kind of like bolt action type stuff, but more and more stuff is becoming... It's how you get some really... Because sculpting's got better, you can really get some fantastic, like, sort of movement in a miniature by some amazing 3D sculpts, or kind of like CAD drawn sculpts, if you like. But the downside of that is that it basically has to be monopose, I suppose. But yeah, things like Infinity have always been monopose. Things like Malifaux have always been monopose. Things like what's the other one I'm thinking of? I can't even think now. Other games, quite a lot of them are actually monopose. More games are becoming like single piece plastics now as well. Steve saying he hasn't got any issues with GW, just prefer other games right now. Yeah, that's cool, mate. Yeah, you as long as you're enjoying what you're playing, that's what it's all about. Lee says, I've been devoted to GW since I was 12. That's 28, but this year I bought Mantic's Abyssal Dwarfs, lovely minis, but I'd be seduced back to GW with 9th. Yeah, I mean, I've always been about, there are loads of good games out there. I said on Rob's chat tonight, if anybody saw it, I don't think there's any bad games out there. Like, all companies have invested lots of money into their games right now, and I just think that there's so much choice that you can pick and choose. You pick the one. If you love really high quality miniatures, maybe GW stuff's the stuff for you. If you love really affordable, simple to play games, maybe Mantic's worth checking out. If you're really into kind of like metal miniatures and like you like the older kind of like the weight of an old metal miniature, and you're maybe into kind of like sort of manga sci-fi, if you like, maybe Infinity's the game for you. there's a game for everybody, I think. The beauty of what I try to do, if you like, and I don't mean that kind of like sound big-headed. What I mean is like the thing that I try to do on this channel is to bring all of those things to people's attention. And I think it would be very remiss of me if I didn't talk about GW and if I didn't talk about 40k and I didn't talk about AOS, because they're huge games. So if I didn't talk about 40k, for example, like people will be saying, it's like they've got a new edition coming out. It's the biggest thing that's happening in Wargaming at the minute, and you're going to just ignore it basically. That might make it look like I was kind of like anti GW, or I was pro other companies, if you like. So yeah, I'm kind of like, I think it's, as I said before there, I think there's hardly a bad game out there now. It's just there's different horses for courses. Daniel said at BlackJack Legacy, not taking money from companies is one of the best things about you. You're honest about everything. You help to keep us honest to ourselves. That's what we want from games. Spending too much also. Thanks, mate. Yeah, and as long as the I never. You know what it is? I heard a noise. Sorry, while we're talking about kind of like taking money, Lee Burns has just pledged on the Patreon as well. Thank you very much, Lee Burns. I heard the noise, but then I didn't see anything come up. Thank you very much, mate. Yeah, that's why Patreon to me is hugely important, to be able to kind of make this whole thing work. But it allows us to have chat like this. Like if I was being sponsored by Warlord Games, let's just say, would I be saying bad things about them? Would I be criticising them? If I was sponsored by Mantic, would I be criticising them? Or are you frightened to kind of bite the hand that feeds, if you like? So I don't see another way to do it. Otherwise, you just become a corporate salesman for other companies, and that's not what I want to do. I'm not trying to sell you stuff. I just want to make everybody aware of what's out there and kind of like open your eyes to other stuff. Where are we at? I'll just dive in somewhere. Krabby Vision saying GW were monopose to begin with. Yeah, I suppose they were, mate, actually. I remember seeing an interview with, I forget who it was, but somebody from GW talking about the first, was it Andy Chambers? It might have been Andy Chambers. Forget now. But talking about like the first multi-part Space Marines. Alan Ward is saying he spoke to Jess Goodwin about pose and monopose thing. He said the problem with multi-pose models is that the movement joint is very obvious, i.e. the waist, so Marines just swiveled. Yeah, I know what you mean, mate. I know what you mean. Especially when the legs are fixed and the toes are pointing a certain way, there's still only so much movement you get. I mean, you can kind of reposition how high the arm comes with a gun, but at the end of the day, they're all pointing the gun. Like everybody, like the old Marines used to be multi-part, but you still just modelled them holding the gun. And if you modelled them with their legs pointing over here and their arms pointing over there and their head pointing forward, it looked wrong. Do you know what I mean? So multi-part isn't always great either. Obviously, if you're a kid basher, that's where they come into their own, and that's why, to be fair, that's why things like Necromunda is very much like that. But then you go into Necromunda, and some of their models are in so many pieces, it's frustrating. Kelly says I had to put my unassembled Code 1 back in the box this week, just couldn't take it. I mentioned on Rob Oren's live stream earlier on tonight, that's the most frustrating thing I've ever had to build. When I come to do my review, I will tell you how frustrating those models are to build. I will tell you what a pain in the backside they are to put that card terrain together. But once it's done, they're beautiful, both the terrain and the miniatures. Once it's done, but it took me all bloody day on Saturday to get those things built. Casey Huff said, on Rob's, you mentioned the game that's similar to X-Wing. What was that? It was Blood Red Skies, mate. Yeah, Claudio's just saying that. Yeah, Blood Red Skies. It's a World War II kind of airplane game. Very much like X-Wing with bases and kind of like movement template type things. A lot more streamlined, mate. Matthew Wilkinson, good evening, Matthew, saying we're definitely in the golden age of wargaming. We're spoiled for choice. Yeah, that's at the end of the day, mate, that's the beauty of it, isn't it? Alan saying Jess is a legend, knows what he does. You can tell by talking to him. Yeah, I think there's a lot of people like that in it. Do you know what it is? Chris Mason, thank you very much, mate, for the super chat there. I have no idea why it hasn't come up on the screen. Something's going on, unless it just hasn't come through yet. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it might in a second. We'll keep talking until it does. Chris Mason, thank you very much. He said, I really want plastic aspect warriors. There it is. And I knew he had. I've actually caught up at the end of the chat, that's why. Plastic aspect warrior. I don't think I know what aspect warriors are. Are they the they're not Tau, are they? It's been a long day, mate. It's been a long day. I've been live streaming for half 7, half 8, half 9, half 10 for almost 4 hours now, to be fair. Alan says he agrees with Matthew. Been doing GW for 35 years now and seeing things I could only have dreamed of. Yeah, I think that's the case, mate, isn't it? Like we are seeing these kind of things. Where are we at? Pomsy saying, I love this honest chat. I love the whole industry. I'm so grateful for everything it's given me, but I like debating as well. Yeah, and to be honest, mate, I'm not above being challenged as well. I don't know everything. Like 40k is probably a game that I know less about than probably any other game. But it's a game that you can't ignore, and I want to know more about it. Because to be fair, I've read Horus Heresy novels. I'm not like, I don't hate the stuff. I've bought more Space Marines than I know what to do with and never played a game. So it's something I'm hugely interested in and want to know more about, which is why it's good. But yeah, I'm open to be shot down as well, mate. I like this kind of chat. Christian says, are you tapping on your desk? I think I'm playing with a pen, mate. I just realised that I'll put the pen down. Lee says, to be fair, GW do offer a lot of different types of games. They brought back Blood Bowl and Necromunda because fans wanted it. I personally think they are brilliant for this hobby. The hobby would be a less rich place without it. I think what they do is they also force other companies to up their game as well. So and other companies force GW to up their game and to stay ahead of the pack, if you like. So yeah, I think it's good for everyone. Where we are, Kieran Morris, good evening, mate. He said 40k for him is the theme and the lore, so whilst not interested in 9th edition, I want to see more board game stuff set in the world with cool minis. And I guess the more successful 40k's, mate, the more likely we are to see that kind of stuff. I also wonder what will happen after Blackstone Fortress is finished now then, because I know we have thank you very much, Steve Nickel, for subscribing. I know we very much have we're coming to the end of Blackstone Fortress, but I would like to think, because of the amount of expansions they've released, that must be hugely successful. I would be surprised if we don't see something else in that vein, if you like. Pomsy saying, big up the 86 in the chat. It's up to 89 now, mate. If anybody hasn't given it a thumbs up, I would love to get over 100 likes tonight. That would be very nice. Look at me pimping myself out for likes. Chris Mason saying, the elder aspect is all good, man. Appreciate what you do. Thank you very much, mate. Yeah, I'm not sure what they are, mate. I need to get a bit more down with the cool kids and a bit more up on the knowledge, mate. That's for sure. Barry's saying, the most frustrating models I ever built were Death Course of Krieg Troopers. I've always fancied them, mate. They're the, what they're called, the Forge World stuff, aren't they? They look awesome, though. Alan Ward saying, Andy Chambers' game, he never told me if it was named after Judas Priest song. Oh, I wonder if it was. VJ says, minis I was talking about earlier. The Eldar. Oh, sorry. Yes, the Eldar minis. Yes, I know what we're talking about now. It's been a long night, mate. Christian is also sharing out Six in the Heads magazine. He's in there. He's got 3 issues currently. Please do check it out. Awesome. Nice little bit of reading. There's a lot of stuff, kind of digital, visual stuff online now. It's nice to see some actual stuff to read as well. Claudio. What was that one? Claudio, that's what this is all about. Must have missed that. He says, I just haven't let you have a mug yet. I haven't let anybody have a mug yet. I have gifted mugs when I've promised people like yourself, Steve, who we were meant to play a game and we never got round to it. And I've gifted a mug to, who else did I give one away to? To Paul Welsh. When he came all the way from Manchester to my house, stayed overnight. We played a bit of Walking Dead and stuff. It was nice of him to come and visit. So I've gifted him one as well. Everybody else has to win one. So we'll do a nice giveaway when I get to 8,000. When I get to 8,000 subscribers, we'll do a giveaway. Where are we at? Jimmy G says, 8 Soviets are done, over 2 hours. Don't talk to me about multi-part kits. I'm not a huge fan of multi-part kits. I've got a model that is over here that is for Conquest by Parabellum. And it's like one of the big Spire models. It was an absolute pain in the backside to build because it was all multi-part. And actually, when it goes together, it didn't need to be multi-part. I wasn't like, it's on 4 legs with like 2 arms at the front. It wasn't like I was going to have like 1 leg up in the air or kind of like climbing across rocks, because the base is not big enough. So why weren't the legs just fixed? Peter says, just bring your BlackJack Legacy mugs for a refill. Yeah, if we ever get to get together again and have like a proper like a weekender thing, or like a Legacy con or whatever we're talking about going to have, what I'll do is I'll do the BlackJack Legacy mugs, and we'll do that whole thing with like buy a mug and you get free tea and coffee all weekend thing. We'll do that kind of stuff. Krabby said, I can't wait to have a couple of games of 40k, mate. I get childishly excited. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too, mate. I'm looking forward to it. Lee says, Kingdom of War popularity was probably the reason GW announced fantasy coming back. Healthy competition. I'd be interested. I still don't know. Somebody asked this on Rob's stream as well. What did I think about fantasy coming back? I don't know what they're bringing back, to be fair. I can't imagine they're going to bring something back and go, oh, just use your EOS factions, or just use all of Mantic's armies, for example. So they must be going to bring something back, which makes me think it could be something very different to what people are expecting. Alan Ward says, Specialist Games coming back was such a great thing. Battlefleet Gothic's got to be next. It'd be a matter of time, I think, mate. Steve saying, don't let Claudio win. Alan says, though, I suspect with a Battlefleet heresy, too many named ships not to. Well, folks, I'm going to have a drink because I've run out of chat and I've run out of voice there for a second. So excuse me. But this is awesome, folks. We've still got 93 people watching the chat. So if you lot want to keep going, let me know if you want to keep going. And get some comments in the chat, because I'm running dry now. The topic I wanted to chat about tonight, we kind of done to death, to be fair. I'm happy to chat about anything. But yeah, just keep it coming. As long as you've still putting stuff in there for me to talk about, I'm happy to keep going for a bit longer. Mordheim 2 and Man of War. I can't imagine we'll see Mordheim 2, to be fair. I think Warcry killed the opportunity of that one, I think. Peter saying, with little prospect of GW events this year, I'm not convinced 9th is the big news. What you have to realise, mate, is that this is not about it's not about events, it's not about tournaments. This is about, they put in place 2 years ago getting ready for 9th edition to launch. And if they've made all of those box sets, if they've started already producing the models, if they've already had all the rules printed, it's all sitting in a warehouse right now, or it's all being manufactured, it's all being produced right now, and they want to recoup some of that money back. They've been relying upon this selling for this year's, this financial year's, like profits, if you like. So I think they've delayed it until they could start shipping it. But they're not relying upon people like stores opening up and people getting games in. People will still buy this whether they can get games in or not. It's a perfect opportunity to paint some. It's a perfect opportunity to start painting some stuff up and getting games ready. Maybe this is the first opportunity we'll do. Maybe this is the first opportunity we'll have people actually starting up in a new edition with lots of painted miniatures for a change. Where we are, everyone's saying keep going. Vijay says, driving the little man to daycare, just listening for a bit. Okay, mate, thank you very much for keeping going. Krabby says, what 40k factions interest you, mate? To be honest, mate, I'm not that sure. I keep coming back to Space Marines purely because I feel like I could I like the aesthetic. I just like the idea of a big Space Marine faction, but I think it's more because I want to paint like the tanks and the flyers and stuff like that. I want to paint the big models. So I don't know. I'm gonna have to give it some serious thought. Really, I've tried painting bits and pieces of all sorts of stuff over the years, just because I like the models and stuff. And Kill Team was a good opportunity for that. So I've got like Orcs for Kill Team. I've got Necrons for Kill Team. I've got Admech. I've got Genestealer Cult. I've got Space Marines. I've got some Guard stuff. So I don't know. I need to give it some serious thought. Maybe I need to read some of the books and see if that kind of like gives me a bit of a good feel for something. Kieran saying the old world stuff is interesting. Same in that I can't get my head around what it's going to be. They don't want to compete with their own AOS, surely. It has to be pretty different. That's where my head's at. I can't believe they'd go to the trouble of writing a rule set, like teasing it out this far in advance, and then not bring out a whole new kind of model range for it. I can't imagine that they'd want to that they want you to just use the elves, for example, from AOS and stuff. Because then it's not old world, is it? That's my point. Alan, excuse me. What was that one there? Just at the top of my screen. Dan says, keep going as far as I'm concerned. I'm currently dunking hundreds of little spaceships from red alert into contrast paint. Need some company. I'll keep you company, mate. I'll keep going for a bit longer. Kieran says, back to Inquisitor 54mm. Do you know what it is? It wouldn't surprise me if they went smaller scale for something like fantasy and did like, would they do something along the line? We're talking square bases, but will they go like movement tray type stuff, like with individual models? Will they do something like Kings of War does with like kind of with based, like multi-base type stuff? It really interests me though. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do. Alan says 3 years between 7th and 8th, and 8th needs sorting. Yeah, I think it's pretty much always on kind of like a 3-year cycle, because if they don't update it, it's like those updates almost like generate the next wave of releases, the next wave of books, the next wave of codexes. Otherwise, it's like it just stagnates a little bit, I think. Alan says you need multiple books to play armies. I think some armies you probably do. I don't know if it's the same for all, mate. Is it? I'm going to move that pen out of the way because I'm a fiddler. I can't stop playing with it. Pomsy saying Necrons for him. Easy to paint up, big army, lead belcher. That's it. Lee says 8's in better condition than 7 was left. I wouldn't disagree with that, mate. That's my understanding as well. Noxie wants the new Lucius the Eternal model. Luke says if they did release a new faction, what sort of thing would people like to see? I think we'd like to see a mystic alien race, psychic control, almost like Greys. I think, mate, it wouldn't surprise me if they do something like that. I mean, one of the things they do with AOS a lot is they bring in these kind of left field factions, things like Caradron Overlords, things like Deepkin, Idoneth Deepkin, the new cow elves that are coming in now are not like everybody's taste. Ossiarch Bone Reapers. They're quite willing to bring in these new factions and push the kind of like push the narrative a little bit, and they haven't really done that for quite some time in 40k. Now I wonder if that's because the lore is so rich already that they're worried about bringing in new factions. But to be fair, they brought Primaris in, and that kind of went against some lore that was already existing, or basically allowed them to develop the lore. I'd like to see a new faction come in as well. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to see it for this release, but yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they do, though. Mike says there, the boys is the best. Yeah, Orc player there. Alan saying Necrons need some love. I'm sure GW want to get rid of a few of those last green rods. Necrons have not really had any love for centuries, basically, have they? It's been a long time since we've seen anything new for them. William Jones says he's going to sign off. Enjoyed as always, but need a nap, and you need a break. See you all later. Thank you, William. Thank you very much, mate. Matthew said if he got back into 40k, he'd do Genestealer Cult. Yeah, Genestealer Cult, quite cool. I did a video a little while ago on how to like paint them up quickly, and I thought they looked pretty good, but they were fast to paint. So yeah, maybe I need to look at speed paint and stuff. Joachim says, thanks for a great chat. Guess this one could go on forever, but life is too short. Never-ending stories. So I got to go. Thank you, Joachim. Thanks for coming in, mate. And I hope it helped cheer you up a little bit anyway as well. Krabby says, I always like the green rods. Yeah, I quite like them as well. I fitted them on my Necrons. I tell you what I did do, though. I primed my Necrons blue with my airbrush, and then I sprayed them silver over the top with my airbrush. And it gave a really nice kind of like almost RoboCop blue, silver, metallic look to them. I really like that, actually. I just don't know if I could face just painting nothing but like silver robots, if you like. Daniel saying the last 40k new race was Tau. Is that right? I mean, you get things like Custodes. Would you class Custodes as a new race? Adeptus. I suppose you could say what they're called. Sisters of Battle could potentially be classed as a new race, really, with all the new models. What they called again? Was Admech like a new faction? I can't really think now. Where we are? Tim's in Space Bone Reapers. Ooh. Bring back squats. Yes. Krabby Vision says Necro Nids are rumoured. Necro Nids. There's a load of fluff relating to it. Interesting. Interesting. I do wonder about that. And Peter says his last guest tonight is Return of the 13th Company. That goes over my head, mate. I don't know about that. Lee saying the love of 40k here. Surely must tempt a 40k slow grow, but base it over a longer period. I don't know if we'd get the uptake, mate. I mean, I'd be happy just to kind of like set a challenge away, but I don't know if we'd get like the uptake for a slow grow, but we can always see. Alan says his Necrons had UV painted coils and eyes. Looked awesome. Nice, mate. Krabby's saying if the new box set have Necrons, I'll be painting them copper. Interesting, mate. I've never thought of copper Necrons before. Kieran says the new Zord guy for Blackstone Fortress could be a scout for a future faction. There's quite a few things that kind of like cropped up in what's it called, in Blackstone Fortress, and to be fair, in things like Rogue Trader as well. That could definitely like kind of like give us glimpses of what could have been, if you like. Lee says apparently a big rumour is the reason the Nids are heading for Ball is they sense the return of Sanguinius. I need to get myself up on the law. I know what Ball is. That's where the Blood Angels come from, and Sanguinius is the Blood Angels Primarch. I know that bit. I don't know any about the background though. Jimmy G says Kieran, I think they'll struggle to get folk back over to them. Kings of War has a massive loyal fan base. I think they're too late to the party unless they really knock it out of the park. Yeah, I do know what you mean. And Kings of War 3 is in a fantastic place, to be fair, as well. It really is a good game. It's going to take, and especially if everybody's multi-based their models, I think it might well take some kind of pulling people back. They might have left it too late, which is why I think it could be something different. Peter says, what a twist if Necrons are the hive mind. Necrons are far too Terminator T100 rip-offs. Yeah, I assume they came after Terminator films, didn't they? Kieran Byrne there saying Space Rats, the combat Veman, and Andy facilitating them getting some love through the slow grow. Yes. Casey says, love to see a Rogue Trader race or faction. Yeah, I'm really surprised we never saw more of that. Like I said before, I think maybe it was just it didn't particularly sell very well, but I thought we'd see something. Six and Ahead says, I'm slowly getting through the Horus Rising audiobooks now. I'd like them to bring up the invisible models, just bases of their own. I've got loads of the Horus Heresy stuff that I got on like a Humble Bundle thing a while ago, like all the like Kindle versions. So I've got them all to read. Should definitely start getting into them. It's nice to actually to read something. I think it might be a nice way to wind down instead of like hobbying all the time. Robert's heading off. Nice to see you, Robert. Thanks for coming in. Krabby says the Necron lore is great. Some of the fluff makes for good reading. I'll have to get some advice, mate, about where I should go to get some kind of lore, some reading and stuff. And Kieran said to Jimmy G, true, the old world will have a huge draw on so many things. It may never be as big as 40k or fantasy battles, but it'll certainly be successful unless they do something weird. Yeah, it does make me wonder exactly what it'll be. Well, I tell you what, folks, I'm going to call it a night there because my throat is really getting dry now. I've pretty much talked non-stop for 4 hours now. So yeah, I'm getting a little bit dry in the throat. So I'm going to call it a night. Thank you very much to everybody that has subscribed to the channel tonight, to everybody that has pledged in the Patreon. Thank you very much to everybody that has donated through the super chats as well. It's you folks that basically keep the lights on here. It's what makes this possible to be a full-time job, and what lets me chat about all these different things, be it for Warhammer 40k or be it any other game as well. So Wednesday night, please come back, check me out. On Wednesday we'll be doing some painting on the stream. I've ordered some new paints I've been waiting for, so hopefully if they arrive tomorrow, we'll be painting the Infinity Code 1 miniatures on Wednesday night. And other than that, I'll have another video coming up either Friday or Saturday later in the week as well. So yeah, thanks again everyone, and I will see you all on Wednesday. Thanks for watching my video. I hope that you really enjoyed it. And if you did, why not consider clicking on the suggested video below to see more of the work that I've done. If you'd like to support the long-term sustainability of this channel, why not consider checking out my Patreon, where you can pledge and support from as little as $2 a month. And there is lots of different tiers and bonuses, which will give you access to a private Discord server. It will give you free t-shirts, free mugs, a podcast every month, and a number of other things, including getting your name at the end of every video, like these awesome folks who already support me now.